Fox News. The White House says Iran continues to talk with negotiators as the U.S. launches a sixth day of strikes against targets in Iran. U.S. Central Command says American forces redirected 3 commercial ships trying to run the blockade of Iranian ports, with Marines boarding one ship in the Gulf of Oman and another was stopped by U.S. forces.
For the first time since President Trump ordered a resumption of the naval blockade, U.S. forces disabled an oil tanker, firing Hellfire missiles at the stacks, trying to run through it to Iran's Karg Island. To date, 2 other commercial ships have reversed course and turned away from the blockade, enforced by 20 U.S. warships and hundreds of aircraft. Video from the U.S. military Central Command shows F-18 Super Hornets launching with standard land attack missiles attached with a range of 170 miles.
Fox's Lucas Tomlinson in Tel Aviv, as Iranian military spokesman says Iran could launch widespread attacks on what he called all the infrastructure in the region if the U.S. hits Iranian bridges and power plants. President Trump said to deliver an address tonight. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says he will discuss newly declassified intelligence assessments about vulnerabilities in election systems in 2020.
All Americans, Democrat, Republican, should agree that we are the greatest country in the history of the world. We should have the safest and most secure elections in the history of the world. And what the president will be speaking about tonight will show you that perhaps that is not the case, and we need to make some adjustments moving forward.
Numerous recounts, court cases, and audits of the election found no fraud. Tune in to special coverage of President Trump's address to the nation at 9 p.m. Eastern on FoxNewsRadio.com. At least one person has died in catastrophic flash flooding in southern Texas, in the same area that's still reeling from flooding 1 year ago. Governor Greg Abbott says more than 1,300 first responders have been deployed, with over 70 people rescued. America is listening to Fox News.
Point.
Hey, you okay? You don't normally miss those shots.
I just haven't been as regular lately, and it's making me feel sluggish.
You should try Metamucil. It's been a game changer for me. Metamucil's plant-based psyllium fiber helps trap and remove the waste that weighs you down.
Ace.
You're moving better than you were last week.
Definitely.
Metamucil keeps you moving. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Learn more at metamucil.com.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Coach! The yellow light! I'm walking here!
Good afternoon and welcome to the Jason Rantz Show right here on Seattle Red 770 AM. We are streaming on the Seattle Red app online at seattlered.com. We got a ton to get to this hour. Shannon Bream from Fox News Sunday stops by to give us the breakdown on this morning's Supreme Court decisions. One was a little bit of a wake-up call for Republicans who are trying to dismantle mail-in voting. It's not happening, at least not from the Supreme Court. So we're going to figure this out. But first, I guess what's trending is ha 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 ha. Brought to you by the Sunset Auto family.
What's trending? Let's get political.
I don't know how else to respond but just laugh in the face of Jamie Peterson, who is the very, very, very far left Washington senator, majority leader who represents Seattle, the architect of the unconstitutional income tax. And you know what happened? A double whammy of, oh my God, if you're his reelection campaign. Because not only did his socialist challenger end up earning the 43rd Washington Democrats' endorsement, the mayor of Seattle over the weekend came out and endorsed the socialist challenger. That's how bad things are right now, where they said in his district, he's not far enough to the left. So they're backing someone named Hannah Sabio Howell, who's a labor organizer. She's the comms director for the nonprofit Working Washington, very far to the left. And She launched her campaign by essentially labeling Jamie Peterson as too corporate, whatever that even means in this context, and too slow, which explains why you're hearing from Jamie Peterson, who was on with, who's the reporter from Fox 13, Hannah Kim, I think. He goes on with her 2 weeks ago, and she says, hey, do you support an income tax for everyone, well beyond the millionaires? Oh, yes, absolutely. So he's getting hit for not being radical enough. Meanwhile, conservatives are like, gosh, this guy's so radical. And I don't know what the takeaway from that is that Democrats by default in Washington state are so radical that we can call them that, but the context of how radical the socialists are, right? How do you square this away, Jackson? How do we look at both of these candidates? Because you and I would look at Jamie Peterson and say, lunatic fringe member of the hardcore left. And the base is all like, what? He's a conservative. Like, he's a what? What? How's that work? So is this a story of the base being further to the left than we thought, or Democrats not being as far to the left as we thought? Which is it? Is it both?
Could be both.
It's just weird, right? But it is an interesting and frankly funny scenario politically to see, because at the end of the day, this is a district in Seattle. It's kind of similar to what we've been talking about in New York last week with the primaries. The socialists who won, they didn't beat Republicans. These weren't red seats that they picked up. This wasn't, any purple district that we're talking about. These were always deeply blue. So Republicans never had a shot at those races. Similarly, in Seattle, and this covers Capitol Hill, for example, there's zero chance that a Republican even has a shot at winning in this district. So this is the left going after its own. This is the left eating its own. I look at this and I say to myself, you know what? Politically speaking, I'm kind of okay with this. Jamie Peterson, if he were to lose, even to a crazy socialist, he would be someone who's got an enormous amount of power and influence. I mean, he's the majority leader getting booted. That's good for Republicans. That's ultimately good for Republicans. Now, you might say, and I think there's some validity to this, you might say, yeah, but do we really want another socialist in Olympia? Do we want another wacko at that point? And I think that that's a fair criticism because, you've got a handful of more moderate Democrats in Olympia, and I mean a handful. I could literally grab them with my hand all at once. That's how few there are.
Mostly really tiny people.
They are. Well, I got big hands. And that could maybe bully them into submission. But also, can you name something that they didn't pass that was crazy because of the moderates? I'm sure there's like a handful, ironically, of things they didn't pass as a result of very few moderates, but not that much. I mean, all the moderates backed the income tax. All the moderates backed the idea that a child can run away from home, be housed at some facility, state-run. All they have to do is say they're looking for so-called gender-affirming care, and the state can't tell the parent where their kid is. Like, that's a crazy view. So what exactly are we getting with all these moderates?
Not much. I mean,
right? Nothing.
I mean, I don't know. Like they reneged on the police pursuit thing. Does that even count? Though, I mean,
I don't even know if that counts because that was the voters finally said enough is enough. This is insane.
Yeah,
and you were able to win. But I mean, I suppose you can give that to some of the moderates because not all the Democrats were on board, but they were looking at the polling, and so it does mean that they're paying attention to the polls. And the reality is, another crazy socialist in Olympia might actually bode well for Republicans and the voters who look at this and say, okay, you are crazy far to the left. We have to course correct. All for a seat that we would never win anyway. So I don't know. I don't know if I find it all that objectionable to have Hannah Sabio Howell get the endorsement of the local Democrats, get the endorsement of the socialist mayor of Seattle, and then ultimately maybe defeat Jamie Peterson. I do want to see Jamie Peterson lose. We just wouldn't be able, well, maybe nationally no one really knows, so I can still go on TV and be like, oh, yeah, he backed the unconstitutional income tax. The voters said no, which is technically true because they're all like, yeah, we said no because we want an income tax for everyone, which these dummies don't realize they're included in the everyone. Just because you go by they, them doesn't mean you're not a part of the voting public that's going to get hit with these taxes. No, we wanted to go after the binary tax, but we're in a non-binary taxpayer. What does that mean? What the heck does that mean? No, you're still paying the tax. So am I wrong to say this is more good than bad? I just find it funny.
Yeah, I mean, he's so smug, too. It's like,
it really is. He's got... Is it fair to judge him on his natural smug face? I think that is his natural face, although his tone is smug. Yeah. It's not just his look. He's got that weird... He
has this way of always kind of like talking, like he's talking down to you, kind of.
Yeah, he has that tone. I find it really off-putting. So good. I hope he gets demolished. What is his game here? How does he overcome this? Go further to the left? How much further to the left can he go? There's only so much you can do if you're Jamie Peterson. And look, I'm here for it. I'm totally here for it. Over the years, Sunset Auto Family's warranty protection for life has paid more than $7 million in warranty claims. Why? Because they believe in taking care of their customers for the long haul. Stop by for a complimentary warranty health check. The last thing you want is a voided warranty when you need the coverage the most. So they'll check your coverage and make sure it's still intact. You just get more at Sunset. And people do like that. SunsetAutoFamily.com. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending on the campaign trail?
Ooh, some nefarious actors or a nefarious actor is out there going after Mike Solon, former Seattle Police Officers Guild president, currently running for Pierce County Council for the district, including Gig Harbor and unincorporated Pierce County. He's out on the campaign trail, quietly building his support. He's putting up campaign signs, or his team is, but he is finding out that there are lots of people who don't want him running, who don't want you to even know that he's running a campaign. And he took to his campaign X account to point out his signs are being stolen and damaged, which is illegal.
I'm here at Scansey and Hunt. I used to have a campaign sign right there. Now it's gone. I'm also getting information and pictures of my signs being stomped on and torn and thrown in garbage cans. Mind you, that type of action is illegal. Why are these people doing this?
I know why. I'm raising my hand.
Why?
Okay, I'll let him answer.
To me, that's unreasonable, and it also illustrates that they're scared, that the momentum is real.
The momentum is real. They do this all the time. I will say, I'm imagining there are also people on our side who take down campaign signs. I understand why you might want to take down campaign signs when there's like 10,000 of them in one street corner. We're talking about one on an intersection, 1 4 blocks away, 2 a half a mile away. And we're talking about unincorporated Pierce County. Y'all got a lot of space where they can put up some signs. This is the pettiest of petty reactions, especially given the fact that I don't even think campaign signs make all that much of a difference. There is this psychological effect, I suppose it can have when you see a bunch of lawns with the campaign signs. You automatically then assume this is Solon country or this is whomever country, and they're going to win because you see hope. I don't think there's actual data that backs the claim that the more campaign signs you have up, the more support the candidate has, right? Because if that were the case, we would see nonstop campaign signs everywhere, because they would make it truly a mission to get the campaign signs out there. This is, given that, this is pathetic in every stretch of the meaning to do something like this. And it's not just one, obviously. He had some photos and videos that he posted about other signs that have been pulled down. Why can't you just win the argument? I don't even know who he's running against in this district. You've got someone, right? This is how you're going to win? pulling down signs. Oh, you're so cool. And of course they do it because they know they're going to get away with it. One, because the chances of anyone finding out who's responsible is pretty slim. Number two, even if you were to find out who was responsible, what do you think? You're not going to get charged for it. You might get summoned. You might have an arrest because in Pierce County, you've got Keith Swank, who actually takes this seriously. But they'll forward that to Mary Robnett's office, and they're just going to pass it. They're not going to charge you with anything. So you know you're going to basically be able to get away with it. But again, it's just a sad state of affairs where these crybabies who have total control of the council right now cannot allow for a stupid sign to go up. And the second, by the way, you do it on your side and you go against the liberals, it becomes this huge story. King 5 will send the Facing Race team down there. Like the can's like, I'm a white guy. Yeah, but you're a Democrat, and so you're standing for people of color. No, excuse me, voters of color. We're gonna take this on. We're really passionate about this. Okay, gee, thanks. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending? Crime.
Crews boarded up another sort of scene of the aftermath of a shooting in South Seattle. This at the Van Asselt Community Center. There's shattered glass everywhere, according to Como TV. There was a shooting Saturday morning. Police responded to what they're describing as a drive-by shooting overnight that sent a 15-year-old boy to the hospital. The South Precinct for SPD said they heard several shots fired on Friday night at the community center. They were able to get there. They found a 15-year-old boy who had been shot in the shoulder and grazed by a bullet on his cheek, which has to be one of the most terrifying injuries to get, because at that point, you're literally hearing the bullet whiz by your head. And that's one of those moments. It's like a Donald Trump moment where you're a centimeter away from being killed. They found more than 45 shell casings at the scene, according to Como. Now, the teen apparently was standing in the community center doorway. Happened actually 9 o'clock. It wasn't even that late. When someone opened fire from a car that was driving by, he was taken to the hospital in stable condition, so he is going to be okay. Ivory Harris is a bishop at Beacon Avenue Church of God, which is right nearby, and he spoke with Como TV.
It broke my heart to hear of the violence. Then we come here, and I just told my youth pastor, I said, man, we got to be here in the community, be more visible, and be here more. Just if we can turn one life around. It's an issue from North Seattle all the way down to Tacoma, and I tell people, if even one young person gets shot, it's too much.
Well, we've got a lot of too much happening then, not just in Seattle, but around the state. But this is not that far away from where 2 teens were shot and killed at that bus stop, right? It was in Rainier Beach not too long ago, a few months ago. We're clearly dealing with a surge of youth violence. We've been seeing that for a while now. We can make a whole lot of excuses behind why this happens. And I don't want to get too overtly political, because the reality is there are kids getting shot and killed. Now, thankfully, this kid is going to be okay, but I imagine it scars someone when you're shot in the shoulder and then have a bullet grazing your cheek. I imagine that doesn't just go away, the trauma associated with it. I have no idea who this kid is. I'm presuming, again, call me stereotypical here, but if you're driving in a vehicle and you're firing outside of the window of said vehicle, it's a drive-by shooting that's most likely gang-related. It's usually what gang members do. I don't know if this kid was specifically being targeted versus just being at the wrong place at the wrong time. We've seen stories that run the gamut on both of those, going both of those ways. But pushing politics aside, pushing policy aside, this is a crisis. And it feels like people in charge aren't really talking about it. It feels like we should be having a more urgent conversation about what to do here. Because you've got this 21-year-old named Joel who recognizes what's going on, speaking with Como.
We're all people, and we need to come together, especially within the inner city, and do things for our youth. It's hard, too, because, I have family. I know kids who are, influenced by those type of things, and it's just like, it's hard when, that's what they feel like. That's all they have, when there's so much more.
There was a moment over the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. It happened a little bit after, not right directly after COVID and the BLM movement and all that stuff, maybe a couple hours removed from that, or a couple years removed, where you weren't even supposed to say gang member. That was racist. Did you know that? It's racist to call out gang members or talk about gangs. There was, scolding going on from liberals. And I wish I could find the audio. I vaguely remember this happening with Mayor Bruce Harrell at the time saying, we don't use the term gang members. And at some point they were like youth-involved violence or youth. Do you remember that? Like, if you can't even call out the people responsible, what the hell's the point? What is the point of all of this? No wonder we're not coming up with any kind of solution. And as I often say on the show, you don't need to be all that innovative to stop this. We need to be really innovative. We need new ideas. We got to think outside the box. What do you need to think outside the box? Think inside the box. We already know exactly what's going on here. We know how to solve this. Stop giving endless chances to teens simply because they're teens when they're breaking the law and they're showing a penchant for violence. Perhaps the kids who show that they're willing to use violence for whatever purposes, that if you don't punish them, they'll keep doing it. Did you know that that's what happens?
Really?
Isn't it weird? Like, everything that we've known about human nature still holds up even in 2026, even in Trump's America. We got to think outside the box. What else do you need to do? It'd be one thing if you were doing the basics and nothing was changing, right? And then we can all say, we got to have some new ideas. We got to think differently. But we're currently in the world of thinking differently, which was not punishing bad guys. Telling teenagers, don't worry, you're not going to spend any time in jail. If anything, at the most, you'll get a bracelet or an ankle bracelet, an ankle monitor. We'll put you on electronic home monitoring. And don't worry, we're not even monitoring the brain. You'll be fine. That's the new stuff, saying we're not going to put you in jail. Or we're going to pretend that up until the age, 24, you're still considered, for the purposes of youth detention, a minor. 24? Really?
Well, your brain's still developing.
The brains are still small. You're talking about the girls. I'm kidding. Remember that stupid thing? I don't understand what we're supposed to do here. And they don't have any solutions on the left. We'll just get another one of the stories. And I don't fault Como for this. Like, the whole point of this story was the shooting, quote unquote, renewed calls for youth violence prevention. Like, you need another program or more funding for something. The church and this bishop, I imagine, are doing really good work to get into the community. They're obviously right that if they show up more and they activate the community, that the crime generally goes down. But there's only so much work that they can do. And it's only it's only fair to a degree to say the community has to step up when you live in a city that doesn't have enough police officers, that doesn't have prosecutors who want to prosecute, or judges who are all that judgmental. There's only so much that it could. The bishop here, what is his name? Ivory Harris. He can do everything right and still fail at this because he's working within a system that doesn't take this seriously. And so unless we go back to punishing bad guys, this will continue. This will continue. 1-800-465-8770 for your text messages. 1-800-465-8770. Some big decisions came down today. We got 2 big ones coming down tomorrow from the Supreme Court. What does this all mean? Should we be pulling out our hair as a direct result of, in particular, the mail-in ballot decision? Shannon Bream will be stopping by from Fox News Sunday to break down these cases and preview what's to come. You are listening to The Jason Rantz Show.
Jason Rantz on Fox News.
A new op-ed says Democrats in Washington state are bragging about GDP growth. Jason Rantz wrote that op-ed.
GDP growth in Washington is higher than the national average, and yet if you look at where those growth numbers are coming from, it's from AI. They're trying to actively ban AI in Washington state. Both Seattle and Spokane, the two largest cities in the state, have decided to put these one-year moratoriums on growth of data centers.
Jason Rantz, every afternoon, 3 to 7 on Seattle Red.
And the match is about to begin.
Most of the team is out with COVID-19, so there'll be some substitutes tonight.
What's this? We have an unexpected guest on the field.
It's a dog. Well, they could do with extra players.
She's going for the ball.
Are front paws hands or feet?
Soccer season is full of surprises, and COVID-19 could be one of them. If you test positive, prescription medications may help. Ask your doctor if they're right for you. Learn more at PfizerForAll.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
This is the story of the one who keeps multiple buildings running smoothly day after day. Plumbing that flows, HVAC that hums, cleaning supplies that keep surfaces sparkling. That's why she counts on Grainger. With easy reordering online and 24/7 support, Grainger helps her keep the products she needs on hand. So shelves stay stocked and buildings stay ready. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey, Jason Rantz here. You've been told the same horror stories about real estate investing, that you manage construction headaches after you buy the property, then you eventually deal with tenants who are a pain in the backside, which is why Legacy Group Capital does something way different. Legacy Group Capital, based in Bellevue, they lend on real estate. They're the ones that acquire all the real estate, they build, they develop it, and then they share the profits with the investors who are smart enough to decide to invest. These are people who didn't get lucky. They just got smart. Smart because the track record from Legacy Group Capital includes double-digit returns with zero investor losses. Right now, Legacy Group Capital's Northwest Fund is offering a fixed 9% rate of return. And yes, IRAs are accepted. Go with Legacy Group Capital online at legacyg.com, the letter G, legacyg.com, or give them a call at 425-635-4700. 425-635-4700.
Nick, you know what my dad always used to say?
Oh, which thing? Let me guess. If you put anything on a hot dog besides mustard, it's un-American?
Okay, that's true. Okay, but no, about the word worry. Remember he used to say about the word worry?
Yes, that it's not a verb, but it actually is.
I know it's a verb, but Nick, his point was nothing comes from worrying. You can sit here and worry about all the news and all about the chaos in the world. You worry about your health, but nothing comes of it. You have to take action.
Right.
Like, for instance, you and I, we go into Longevity Medical Clinic. That's an action. It's about taking that action. Like, people can go to Longevity Medical Clinic, take the free health analysis, and then they can find out how they're aging and the things they can do in order to slow down the process to have a big, full, rich life so you can enjoy a hot dog with whatever you want on it.
And now worry is a verb.
See, there you go. So it all starts for you taking action. I was a patient at Longevity long before I started doing these commercials. So get your free health analysis. Go to lmclinic.com. That's lmclinic.com. John Curley here. When the AC starts acting up, don't assume you need a whole new system. Home Comfort Alliance, their approach is simple. Repair first, replace only if needed. Their techs diagnose the real problem because a simple fix can often get the cooling back up again and not cost you a full replacement. Need something new? Ask about a heat pump for year-round comfort. That's what we did at the barn. Get real pricing in 60 seconds at homecomfortalliance.com. Call the comfort people. homecomfortalliance.com.
There are 6 markets you can place your money in. Research suggests it's better to have exposure to all 6 markets. Don't miss a potential opportunity because you didn't strategically diversify your assets. Hi, Jeff here with Madrona Financial and CPAs. Request your no-cost Madrona analysis today and discover what you may be missing in your portfolio. Call 833-673-7373 right now to request your analysis. That's 833-673-7373.
We know what it's like being a Seattle conservative.
You're free to make the choices all you want, but you're not free from those consequences.
It's the reason we created SeattleRed.com.
You know what? We're going to do carrot and stick.
Local news without the liberal spin.
No one likes carrots. Carrot doesn't work. You need a stick.
Exclusives like video content and opinions you won't get anywhere else.
Other media outlets are not going to cover this.
We will never get a chance like this again in our lifetimes.
Make it the first thing you read every day. SeattleRed.com.
This hour of the Jason Rantz Show is brought to you by General Transmission Repair.
Welcome back to the Jason Rantz Show. We've got 2 cities and 2 renter protection programs that are being proposed, and yet we're still dealing with the same problem. In Seattle, Mayor Katie Wilson's answer to a housing crisis is a proposal that builds no new units, but instead hands landlords a government-approved list of fees that they're allowed to charge while banning everything else, except it doesn't actually ban anything. At the same time, in Spokane, the council is voting next week on a right to cooling mandate, which means every unit has to be kept at 80 degrees within 72 hours of a tenant's request, which essentially means they're forcing air conditioning. But who's going to pay for all of this? My next guest, he is with a group that represents 6,000 property owners around the state. He's fighting both of these mandates. Kevin Schilling is the Government Affairs and Advocacy Director for the Rental Housing Association of Washington. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
So let's start with the mechanics of the Seattle so-called junk fee legislation. It's basically a list of different so-called junk fees like pet fees or mailroom fees that would essentially be barred, but it doesn't really make sense to me. Won't the fees just get packaged into the rent and we wouldn't even know that they exist?
Well, and that's the concern we have with this proposed ordinance is that we're just saying every individualized service charge goes away and we can't charge people for their individual usage of something. So it's all going to be baked into a collective fee or a collective rent increase. And, Jason, I listened to your podcast yesterday and I agree with you that, if some of these fees can be excessive, or if you're paying pet rent or something like that, and it doesn't come back to you to fix a problem, or you feel like as a long-term renter it should. I mean, there are absolutely those concerns, but I don't think the answer is to say take away a small landlord's ability to charge an individual a fee, because the only thing that's going to happen is it's going to be baked into rent, and the rent increases are going to go up in order to cover all of the services that have been used overall.
And the city is basically, or the mayor's office at least, is basically conceding that the total cost would just get rolled into the base rent. So who actually comes out ahead here? It doesn't make any sense to. I honestly, I don't understand what the logic is.
Oh, Jason, I don't know if there's any logic here. It's just a continued attempt to win political points and score political messaging wins against in an us versus them environment. I mean, this, like you said, like their own experts in the policy analysis say that this is just going to be baked into rent, and rent's going to go up in order to cover all of the services. It's not anything that benefits housing. It doesn't lower rents, and it doesn't make anything better for local communities.
Well, it ends up raising the rent. I mean, under this scenario, and I talked about this yesterday, look, I have a pet. My dog doesn't cause any problems, but fine, you're going to charge me $50 a month as a renter. If you get rid of that $50 a month is still going to be there, except it's not just going to be for me, it's going to be for everyone. So the renter who doesn't have any pets whatsoever is now subsidizing the dude down the hall who's got 2 dogs.
Right, exactly. That's exactly what this is going to do. And quite frankly, it's going to hurt the local community-based, wealth-invested, small landlords and folks who keep 2 people in a duplex, a couple families in a triplex. It's going to hurt them the most because they don't have any tools in order to kind of have equity within the system. It's just going to make it easier for the big corporate-backed guys to be the ones that can handle navigating this process and navigating the increased regulatory environment.
Would the Rental Housing Association of Washington have an issue if they were somehow able to exempt small landlords and only have these kinds of rules on some of the big corporate ones?
No, I mean, that's something we've been talking with council member offices about, is we're saying, hey, listen, the corporate guys can handle this. They've got teams of people that can go through the paperwork and go and understand what's going on and kind of bake it into the costs for everybody. But our guys who have a couple triplexes, a couple duplexes, owner occupied, it's harder for them because they're either retirees or that they have this as an investment property or something like that. But it's harder for them. We've been talking with folks to try to get exemptions for the small folks because it keeps housing on the market, it keeps rents low, and it keeps individualized services to individuals, not to a collectivized rent increase.
Well, and it's also happening after that statewide rent cap that was put into place. I mean, are we watching here a policy loop where you
you cap the rent, you get landlords adding fees, and then you ban fees. And so, like, what comes next?
Well, you cap the rent, you ban fees, rent increases as a collective cost increase in order to keep up with those fees. And then what comes next is people leave the market. They continue to leave the market. So we have fewer and fewer private housing market rate options or lower market rate options. This is naturally occurring affordable housing stock. I mean, this is stuff that was built prior to 1980 for the most part. It's lower than market rate for a lot of people. It houses a lot of families. So what's going to happen is folks are going to get out of the market because they can't afford to do it anymore. That's the goal. And we've seen that the social housing project for Seattle is to buy properties and turn it into socialized housing for the city. And is that the long-term goal of these folks? You know, it remains to be seen. But we're fighting for keeping private housing on the market and keeping it naturally occurring affordable housing.
Kevin Schillings, the Government Affairs and Advocacy Director for the Rental Housing Association of Washington. The core objection on the Spokane legislation seems to be this 72-hour window. So explain to us what is being debated and will soon be voted on in Spokane.
Yeah, next week, the council's taking this up again. Like housing providers share the ultimate goal of keeping people cool. We want to keep Spokane cool. We want to keep folks in an environment where they're not suffering from heat-related illnesses. And this is what happened a couple of years ago where 20 people passed away from heat-related death. And they were older folks, and they were in apartments that didn't have the ability to have air conditioning because a lot of that housing is older. And this ordinance, though, goes a bit too far with mandates and implementation requirements. It would require every landlord to put an air conditioning unit into every bedroom, and it would allow tenants to say someone's not meeting that requirement within 72 hours, and then the housing provider would be out of compliance. And that's difficult because a lot of the folks in Spokane own rental units that were built before 1980. It costs a lot of money to put a brand new air conditioning unit in an older building. You got to retrofit it. You got to hire HVAC. You got to connect to utility services. And we have concerns about that 72-hour window, but we also have concerns about the mandate for it to be exactly AC when this year a new state law just passed to allow a tenant to be able to have a cooling device of their choosing at any time without any restriction. And that just came into effect this June. So we think that state law just passed. We should give that time to come into effect and allow tenants to buy cooling devices and make sure that people have what they need to stay cool. But this mandate and this implementation requirement is just a really difficult expectation to meet.
And didn't they debate changing the effective date? It initially was like 2031 if they were to implement this, but instead it would be more immediate?
The original, very first version of this ordinance was 2031. Now they've changed it to be immediate compliance. Yes. So depending on what they do this next week, we're not really sure. There's some amendments going around. We're not sure what exactly the ordinance is looking like at the moment, but we know that the current proposal is that it would come into compliance require right away.
Is there a compliance timeline or standard that your members could actually meet or would accept? To your point, it does seem to me that if you pass the state law, you're making it, you're putting the onus on the unit rentee to do this themselves, and that seems like the compromise.
Yeah, it's not just a good compromise. It was the state law came about from an original idea from Spokane City Council members, and the state law passed this year. It's barely gone into compliance for a month, and so we haven't even seen folks utilize the ability to do that in large swaths. And so our position is essentially, let the state law come into effect, let people buy cooling units for their properties. Housing providers agree that we need to keep people cool and we need to let them have options. But it's this immediate compliance thing. It's this immediate concern that if housing providers do not create a brand new AC unit in a complex within 72 hours, that they're going to be out of compliance and against the law. I mean, the really big concern with the ordinance is that if they don't do that, the city can say that the building is a hazard to health and safety, which is like the highest standard of code violation. So,
all this seems to do, especially in the Spokane case, you're just pushing the mom and pop landlords out. I imagine there are a lot of big corporations that are going to be able to handle, at least initially, the costs associated with this. And by the way, the costs associated with this will end up getting passed along to the renters. But at what point, not just looking at Spokane, but Seattle and all across Washington State, at what point do these protections just kind of inevitably leave renters with fewer places to rent? It just seems like the landscape right now, and it's been this way for a long time, is that landlords are just kind of being mistreated. And it seems to me that it'd be more, it's an easier decision for them to just sell rather than stay in that business of renting.
Well, I mean, that's exactly right. The concern from our association is that with an increase of burdensome regulation, all we are doing is hurting the small landlords, the small housing providers, and sooner or later they're going to decide they can't maintain units within this regulatory environment, and they're going to have to sell their units and go off the market.
What does the marketplace look like right now statewide as far as renting is concerned? I mean, it makes a lot more sense to rent right now than it does to buy, given the prices and clearly more housing on the market. The prices are going to continue to drop. What is the general outlook is my last question.
Well, Jason, I mean, the thing is, what's interesting about what's going on in the state and this region is that rents are naturally going down. We are flatlining rents across the state and in the region because we've built more housing. We've been building more housing. There's been incentives to do that with zoning changes and density allowances. So that's a good thing. And we want more housing to be built in order to bring rents down naturally, which is what happens in an environment where supply is increasing with demand. So we should continue to let that happen. Don't we want rents to continue to naturally go down? And if we do anything to hurt that process, if we do anything to stop allowing for more density and more building, we're just going to continue to have rents not naturally go down because demand will be there without the supply. And so what we're seeing right now is an economic environment that's really interesting where rents are naturally kind of flatlining and going down a little bit in some cases. And we want to continue policy ideas and policy landscapes that maintain that trajectory. I think the goal of the state, I think the goal of the region is to have abundant housing and abundant housing options. And certainly our members are folks who agree with that and want to maintain and be good landlords, good housing providers, because the landlord-tenant relationship is an important one to improve and keep positive in this region. We want more families to decide to live here. We want more workforce housing, and certainly that can only happen if we continue to build more and we continue to ensure that there's a fair relationship between the provider and the tenant.
There you have it. We've been talking with Kevin Schilling. He's the Government Affairs and Advocacy Director for the Rental Housing Association of Washington. Thank you so much for coming on, Kevin. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you. Anytime.
You're listening to the Jason Rantz Show, broadcasting from New York. Don't forget, tomorrow night, 7 p.m. on News Nation, I'll be guest hosting for Katie Pavlich tonight. Make sure you're tuned in, not Newsmax, News Nation. Make sure you find it on your dial, and you can watch me hopefully not humiliate myself. You're listening to the Jason Rantz Show. Back with more after this.
Mitch here at Leathers, Washington's most eclectic home furnishings resource. There's a lot of chaos in the world, so take a break from social media and self-serving politicians. At Leathers in Issaquah, our design professionals will guide you to a happy place by elevating your home environment. More than leather, choose some of the latest fabrics and solid wood, something for every room in your home. Our guaranteed low prices, quality, and service will lower your blood pressure and be kind to your wallet. So check the chaos at the door and come experience a Zen moment at Leathers in Issaquah.
Is it time to get your home sold? Nick Southard with Upgrade Realty here. Selling hundreds of homes for over 25 years has taught me presentation is everything. Picture amazing photography, designer staging, and maximum exposure. With my luxurious marketing, you'll sell fast at top dollar and save thousands in fees for just 1% listing commission. To learn more, visit upgraderealty.com. Upgrade your listing for 1%. Upgraderealty.com.
Joe Fallon did something smart. He saved hundreds on auto insurance switching to Progressive. With that money, he commissioned a portrait of himself. Does Joe already know what he looks like? Yes. Do guests know what he looks like? Also yes. But not as art. It's Joe's savings, and if he wants to spend it on a velvet painting of himself with a white tiger at his feet, we say, roar, Joe, roar. Switch and see if you could save with Progressive and treat yourself. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Summer's finally here, and we're kicking it off with a whole lot of free. Free brake pads with Duralast rotors. Free oil filter with 5 quarts of oil. Free Armor All wipes with Armor All glass cleaner, and more. More free, so you can have more summer. Celebrate free at AutoZone. Now through July 27th. Restrictions apply.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Hey, it's Jason Rantz here. If your water heater is getting older, making weird noises, or you've already had one of those "why is the water cold" moments, pay attention. Because a water heater never fails at a convenient time. It fails suddenly, and it fails expensively. CM Heating gives you a way out before that happens. A new gas or electric water heater installed starting at just $44.99 a month. No credit check required. It's their comfort as a service program, and it flips the whole script. Instead of a surprise breakdown cost, you get one predictable monthly payment. Here's what's included: lifetime repairs and lifetime maintenance, so nothing sneaks up on you. And because their expert plumbers install same day, you're not waiting around for hot water. No surprise bill, no scrambling, no cold shower. This is a no-brainer. Go to cmheating.com and schedule your free estimate today. Don't wait and get caught off guard when something goes wrong. Visit cmheating.com. Tell them Jason Rantz sent you. cmheating.com.
License number CMHEAHL 750LP.
Welcome back to the Jason Rantz Show. Thank you so much for tuning in on this Wednesday afternoon. I've got some big news. And while it's been announced internally, I can't announce it externally yet, which is weird because I told Jackson what the news was, and he acted as if I didn't tell him anything. Just nothing. I was like, oh, okay. Hey, by the way, I put some audio in there when you're ready if you want to listen to it. I'm like, that was your response?
You don't care about my personal life.
I don't, but mine is important. And am I wrong that this is not a big deal?
No, you're not. No.
That's your response. This is a pretty big deal, yeah. That's it?
You know, I'm not an effusive person.
You can't even fake it? I know you're not good at acting.
Yeah, exactly.
I will give you that. But that's alarming that it didn't once I told you what the news was. And I'll announce it probably in the next day or so. It'll be on social media first. We'll talk about it on air next week. I will be all week in New York. I can give a hint, I think. Part of me doesn't want to announce it because what if something happens and they change their mind?
Then you got egg on your face.
I know. But they did tell the team that it was happening. I'll give the hint. So all next week, I'll be in New York. First 2 nights, I'll be on CNN doing the debate show. Then later on in the week, I'll be doing something not just as a guest. Is that too? Did I tell it, basically?
There's still a veil of secret.
Right? Yeah. They don't know what and where.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be Friday night next week. I'll give you all the details. Follow me on social media. I will say it's the first time I will be doing this ever, at least on the TV side. It's my first time. And you always remember your first, but also the first time's always disappointing. Not for me. I'm a rock star.
And you always remember the first time.
Yeah. I will always remember it. I hope I don't get like a bloody nose or something. It's one big fear. Speaking of rock stars and rocks, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. He is facing some pushback after he did an interview with Esquire saying that he hates, his language, slinging of modern politics. And he said he wants to keep his personal politics out of the public eye. It's not your business what I believe. You don't need to hear my take on any political issue, whether it's on policy or politicians, which I think is the smartest move. It usually means they're a Republican, but it doesn't always mean that. And my guess is The Rock probably is more conservative than not. It's my guess. But I honestly don't know. I can't point to anything other than him not talking politics as a reason behind that, and that's not necessarily fair. But because he said he wants to keep this to himself, we're told by, ironically, like D-level actors that they're very upset. George Takei is upset. Like anyone cares what he has to say about.
I mean, at one time he was kind of an A-level, but that was like half a century ago.
A long time. Well, he became pre-COVID. I think it's fair to say, from a pop culture standpoint, he was kind of like Betty White, where he was very active on Twitter and people were paying attention to that. But then he just kind of went away, as he should have, because he's frankly just annoying. But also Will Wheaton. I couldn't tell you the last time Will Wheaton was an A-list anything.
Wasn't he also Star Trek?
Yes, he was Star Trek. But he was Stand By Me was his big, like, that's why people know who Will Wheaton is. Then he did some version of Star Trek, like The Next Generation or whatever. And they're just arguing, saying that his silence makes him, quote unquote, complicit. Complicit. Oh, okay. Will Wheaton called Dwayne Johnson a coward after he said he was going to keep his politics to himself. He said, I love how he's a coward. But then other people said, he could quite literally tear Will's throat out through his bleep. People are just ripping. Matt Rife, the comedian, is standing up for Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Matt also, I kind of think, is probably kind of leaning right. Feels like stand-up comedy has a bunch of folks who are conservative. Not all of them, and the ones who are liberal, they're very loud about it. But I'm pretty sure most of stand-up, the world of stand-up comedy, are also kind of pretty right, at least right-leaning. Does anyone care either way if The Rock came out and gave his political positions? What's in it for The Rock? Seriously, what's in it? Right now, everyone loves him. You will not find anyone other than Will Wheaton and George Takei who has anything bad to say about him. He legitimately seems like the nicest man in the world. He's not that good of an actor to be able to pull that off. He seems legitimately nice, kind, friendly, fun. So what exactly is in it for him to come out liberal or conservative? If he comes out as conservative, it's nonstop attacks from the left. We would finally have a real current A-list star that we can call our own. But I don't need that. Do you need that? I've never felt the need to say, hey, Mark Wahlberg is a conservative. Okay, I don't care.
I mean, only in as much as that, like, all the other celebrities are super left and annoying, that it'd be kind of fun to have someone.
Yeah, I don't get validation from it. It doesn't mean it's like, oh, well, now I could feel more comfortable being a conservative because The Rock comes out. And I guess I asked that same question of the left, like, why do you care? And it's that they don't necessarily care in the traditional sense. They just want you to know that if you don't believe what they believe, they don't like you. And they need a reason to like you. And they judge whether or not they like you based on your politics, not on your character, not on the characters you play. And if The Rock came out as conservative, the very people who are liberal who say they like The Rock would immediately turn on him. So again, what's in it for him? I love the idea that I don't know what he stands for politically because I don't care. I don't care, and I don't want it to change the way I view the work he does. I actually like his movies. I like The Rock. Again, I find him charming. I find him interesting. Has my love of Mark Wahlberg changed because I found out he's like uber religious and I'm presuming is pretty conservative, although I don't think he's like a hardcore conservative in the traditional sense. I'm guessing he's more conservative than who cares? I'm not rushing to see his movies as a result of that. I just usually like his movies.
I do really like Mark Wahlberg a lot.
I do too. And same with, what's the other one? Chris Pratt. He does the Hallow ads with Mark. Wahlberg. It's a praying app or an app that encourages prayer. And I guess there was no downside to either of them coming out as more conservative, right? Has anyone stopped liking either of them as a direct result of that? So maybe I'm talking away from myself, my own position. I'm talking myself out of my position. Maybe the left will be okay. I think some of it has to do with how big of an actor you are and how well-liked you are beforehand, I guess. But really, if the only people who are complaining about this is Will Wheaton and George Takei, maybe there isn't a downside then to coming out as a conservative. But good for him. He wants to keep it private. Speaking of keeping it private, we told you yesterday that Freddie, the German soccer fan who took the world by storm, caught the world's attention, he ended up turning off his X account because he was being bullied and harassed and doxxed by crazy people on the left, primarily. The White House just announced he's visiting them. There's going to be a Freddie White House visit.
Is he going to show his face?
I don't know. He has not showed his face at all up until perhaps this White House visit. If I'm him, I wouldn't show my thing. The left turned on him really quickly. They found some old tweets where he basically said Hamas was wrong to commit a genocide against the Jews. And I'm like, oh my God, you're rooting for the wrong side. That's what they said. 1-800-465-8770 for your texts.
Hey, Seattle, it's Dana Lash.
Hey, Seattle, it's Guy Benson. It is an honor to be part of the next chapter as we continue to build our movement in Seattle.
I love Seattle Red because it's such a bold step, creating an even bigger voice.
Seattle Red is exactly what we need right now. Join us at Seattle Red on 770.
SeattleRed.com.
And the Seattle Red app.
From the FIFA World Cup to competitive business environments, grand ambitions lead to game-changing achievements. At Bank of America, we're there to support businesses at every step, providing insights and expertise to help you gain an edge.
He shoots, he scores!
What would you like the power to do? Explore winning business solutions at BofA.com/gamechangers. Bank of America, official bank of the FIFA World Cup 2026.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Visit mintmobile.com/radio. Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. See terms.
Hey, it's Jason Rantz here again with Greg Nunn from Nunn Better Tax Resolution. Greg, there are some folks getting CP 504 notices. This is not something that should be ignored. You need a professional.
When you receive a CP 504 notice, alarm bells need to go off. And as much as you just want to push that envelope aside, because it's going to come certified mail, and you see it's IRS, and I'm sure, a person's heart skips a beat, the palms sweat, because they know it's not going to be good. And it's not. It's not a very good notice to get, because it means the IRS is really coming down on you hard. Get help. Get help right away. Call somebody that knows what they're doing and get some assistance.
You ideally want to put folks in a position where they can avoid this, but sometimes they've allowed it to get to this point. It does not mean there's no help for them.
It may feel like there is no hope when they receive that notice. There's a lot of things that have happened prior to receiving that CP 504 notice. But now, man, you're at the 11th hour, and you better start doing something, or really bad things will start to happen. Garnishment of your wages, taking money out of your bank accounts or retirement accounts. And I don't want to sound alarming, but just that's the facts of what can happen next.
I'll sound alarming. This is a really difficult spot for people to be in.
It's a tough place.
They need someone like you to help them.
You're in deep doo-doo.
How have you helped?
We help them by understanding exactly where they're at. We interview them, we talk with them, find out. We'd like to know, how did you get here? Because that's really important to know. And then we make a plan whereby we do our level best to help people with this struggle they are having now with their taxes.
Judgment-free.
Judgment-free.
If you're having trouble with the IRS, call Greg Nunn with None Better Tax Resolution, 425-947-1967, or Google NUNN, None Better Tax Resolution.
Seattle Red on 770 KTTH Seattle, 97.3 KIRO FM, HD3 Tacoma, Seattle, 94.5 K233 DT Eastlake, 33 BU Seattle.
Bridges bombed in Iran. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. The U.S. military says it's taken out bridges in and out of a key hub through the Strait of Hormuz. The military says this cuts off Iran's Revolutionary Guard from their supply and isolates them. Also today, Marines boarded a ship in the Gulf of Oman after the military says 3 ships tried to get through the U.S. blockade of Iranian ports.
A crude carrier capable of carrying 2 million barrels of oil on a ship the U.S. Treasury Department sanctioned back in 2024 as part of Iran's shadow fleet.
Fox's Lucas Tomlinson in Tel Aviv. This coming as the U.S. launched a 6th day of strikes against Iran. Still, the White House says Iran and the U.S. continue to negotiate a ceasefire. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says President Trump may touch on Iran and the economy in tonight's address, but the main focus will be on elections.
As he continues to push the Senate to pass the SAVE Act, which includes voter ID, despite the majority leader insisting he does not have the votes to overcome the filibuster. But some in the GOP are reportedly worried the president plans to relitigate the 2020 election rather than focus on Americans' biggest concern, the economy.
Fox's Aisha Hasni at the White House. Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer says the president's speech has nothing to do with the 2020 election.
It has everything to do with the 2026 elections. He's scared to death that he will lose in 2026. And so he's trying to change the subject.
Tune in to special coverage of President Trump's address to the nation at 9 p.m. Eastern on FoxNewsRadio.com. Texas Governor Greg Abbott says 2 people are confirmed dead in devastating flooding in the southern part of the state. It's the same region that was devastated a year ago. As much as 28 inches of rain fell over the last 3 days in Uvalde County, which was spared from the worst flooding last year. America is listening to Fox News.
Point. Hey, you okay? You don't normally miss those shots.
I just haven't been as regular lately, and it's making me feel sluggish.
You should try Metamucil. It's been a game changer for me. Metamucil's plant-based psyllium fiber helps trap and remove the waste that weighs you down. Ace, you're moving better than you were last week.
Definitely.
Metamucil keeps you moving. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Learn more at Metamucil.com.
I'm David Ortiz. When I lost my mom, she was only 46, and I lost my dad to cancer. It was the worst pain I ever felt. It made me think, what will happen with the people I love when my time is up? That's why I have life insurance. Ethos makes it easy. It's all online, take about 10 minutes, and you can get up to $3 million in coverage.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/save. That's ethos.com/save. Paid testimonial. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Coach! The yellow light! I'm walking here! I'm walking!
Good afternoon and welcome to the Jason Rantz Show. We are here on Seattle Red 770 AM, streaming on the Seattle Red app, broadcasting from New York City all week. We got a lot to get to this hour. We've got a lot to get to, including a man who will give us the latest reason why you probably should not take King County Metro. But first, Washington State is leading the charge on a very stupid lawsuit that will ensure homelessness continues to get worse. That's what's trending. Brought to you by Legacy Group Capital's Northwest Fund.
What's trending? Legal.
The Survivor contestant who couldn't win the TV show somehow became Attorney General of Washington State, and now he is apparently leading a fight to prevent the HUD department, the Housing and Urban Development Agency, from funding programs on homelessness that actually work. And of course, he's being celebrated. Nick Brown is being celebrated by the Seattle Times for yet another lawsuit involving Washington and 21 other states that say it's unlawful for the housing agency to change the funding rules And it's too big of a shift in federal homelessness priorities that, according to the Times, could put more than $22 million and housing for nearly 1,700 people in King County at risk. Now, the basic behind all of this is actually quite simple. We've talked about this before, and we've credited the Trump administration for this shift before. Housing First is a total scam. It does not work. Housing First means you put someone into housing first who's homeless, and then you address the underlying causes of the homelessness. Now, on paper, that sounds great. It sounds like it actually would work. The reality is it doesn't. Because there are no rules or regulations that have conditions for your continued subsidized housing. So, for example, if you're a drug user, you can continue to use drugs. There's no rules that you seek any kind of treatment in exchange for the free housing. That's all by design by the left. They claim that there's a stigma attached to drug addiction, which I'm totally okay with. I'm glad there's a stigma attached to drug use. Not the addiction, but to drug use. You should not feel anything but stigma for that. That's part of getting you sober, getting you clean. And if you're such an addict that you don't even realize living out on the streets is hitting rock bottom, you're not going to realize the stigma, okay? So HUD comes in under the Trump administration and Secretary Scott Turner saying, yeah, we're not going to give funding to those organizations and programs anymore. The vast majority of it, I think like 90% of federal homelessness dollars go directly to the permanent subsidized housing first model. They're saying, no, we're not going to do that anymore because it doesn't work. And so naturally, those within the homeless industrial complex, the activists who back people like Nick Brown, they got all upset and now they're suing. And look, I don't know the legal mechanism behind the funding. They could be doing something that doesn't follow some weird bureaucratic rule, but their agenda from the Trump administration is the right one. Housing First does not work. And you know how we know it doesn't work? Because we don't have any data that shows that it works. The people out there will oftentimes say this is an evidence-based, data-backed approach, but then not actually provide any of the data or evidence that shows people getting clean who are homeless and then being self-sufficient because they changed the goalposts. It was initially presented as a way to get you to agree to get some sort of treatment, but we're going to put you in a house first, get you situated, get you comfortable, and then work with you to get that treatment. They don't do the latter. They haven't done the latter. And as I've said multiple times, I wrote a book literally with 3 chapters on this. One was completely devoted to Housing First in Salt Lake City, which is where the idea that it actually works came to fruition. It didn't work. It was a total failure there. And they were comparing apples and oranges. They lied about the data. They said they had functional zero homelessness. Homelessness got worse under this model. And it is by design. It is by design. The intent is not the treatment. The intent is permanent subsidized housing for someone who's a drug addict. I'm okay with permanent subsidized housing with someone who is so mentally ill, there's something literally wrong with them that they cannot seek treatment or there is no treatment. I think we have a moral responsibility for that. But the dude who's addicted to fentanyl, there is treatment for that. There is treatment. So why not pursue that instead of giving them permanent subsidized housing? I'm not going to give someone permanent subsidized housing unless they have a permanent disability that makes it so they can never live on their own. We are failing people with that model. And it's precisely why no one is giving you the data that we all deserve, which is, what are the results of this? How many people did you get off the streets? And how many people got treatment for the underlying condition that led them to the streets? And how many people have become self-sufficient? That's the end goal. Shouldn't that be the end goal for all of us, something that we all can support? That we want that individual to get the help that they need so they can then afford to spend money on their own rent. Get a job, keep a job. Become a functioning member of society. Rules around sobriety, that is a reasonable condition. A reasonable condition. And yet we've got Nick Brown saying, oh no, if the Trump administration does this, our homelessness crisis is going to get worse. This is a perfect way to try to blame the Trump administration for their own failures. They do not give us the data because it does not exist unless they change the goalposts and then they say, look how many people we got off the streets into permanent subsidized housing. Yeah, I have no doubt that if you build a bunch of permanently subsidized housing units, that someone's going to be able to say, yes, I'll take it. That does not solve the problem. It's a really expensive, lifelong problem that you created for taxpayers. And again, it's immoral. Why are we subsidizing drug use? Why are we even pretending to care about getting them sober, getting them clean? This is all being driven by ideology on the left. And this is not inherently an ideological issue, a political issue. It really isn't. You ask the average person whether or not they believe that we should permanently subsidize housing for drug addicts versus subsidize it so long as they're getting clean and then ultimately get them on a path for self-sufficiency, whether that takes a year or 2 or 3. What do you think the average person is going to say yes to? What do you think the average person can appreciate without considering anything having to do with politics? They will take self-sufficiency every single time unless you go and ask an activist. And that's the problem. The people who have been in charge this entire time, they want to hang on to that power, hang on to the dollars, and yet what do they have to show for it as far as results? We really leaned into housing first and harm reduction as a model since 2020, both in Seattle and Washington and all around the country. This was fully embraced by the Biden administration. What happened as we implemented that model? What happened? Homelessness got worse. Homelessness got worse. And where are the places that it's doing better? Including in some blue areas, San Francisco, for example. Why? Because under Mayor, Rod Lurie, what did he decide to do? He got rid of the housing first model. He actually put conditions on seeking treatment. Same thing happening in Denver. It happened in Austin. It's not perfect. You're still going to find homelessness. But they started to see results. If you go into Marysville, they saw results because they reject this idea that you can continue to use drugs, break laws, and suffer no consequences. You need a carrot and stick approach. No one likes carrots. Few people like carrots. But a homeless drug addict, they need the stick that comes along with it. This is not controversial. It is not lacking compassion. In fact, it is leading with compassion to say that if you are a drug addict, we're going to help you get clean. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be cheap. But we're going to help you because you're not useful to society or your own life. You're not fulfilling anything. If you're constantly under the spell of fentanyl or meth or heroin or whatever drug it is that you're addicted to, ultimately you're going to die. Yeah, you might die indoors instead of outdoors of that drug addiction. I don't know if it's compassionate to say we're going to allow you to die indoors instead of outdoors. I'd rather you not die of that drug addiction at all. Call me crazy. Call me nutty. Call me a right-wing conservative MAGA adherent if you want. And if it means what you're telling me it means to be a right-winger, that we don't want people to die of drug overdose in a permanently subsidized housing unit, fine, have at it. I don't care. I don't care at all. Did you know that every qualifying new and used vehicle at Sunset Auto Family comes with oil changes for life? You get up to 5 of these a year. That's going to save you thousands of dollars over the lifetime of your vehicle. So visit our friends at the Sunset Auto Family in Auburn and Sumner. Online at sunsetautofamily.com. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending on the bus?
Hey, look, we have another story about the benefits of riding the King County Metro bus. Prosecutors just charged a man with malicious mischief after he is accused of using a machete to damage the bus. It happened in the Chinatown International District, according to prosecutors. They say Daniel Damian Couch, who's been charged with second-degree malicious mischief, that he forced the bus out of service after they say, on, July 2nd, he had broken the windows of the bus with a machete after, they say, the bus driver told the guy that he wasn't allowed to board. He placed a pink bicycle on the bus's bike rack before trying to board. King 5 says the driver said he saw the machete, and it was at that point he was all like, yeah, maybe you should not get on this particular bus. The driver apparently recognized him from an incident that happened about a month earlier, and they say that when he denied entry to Couch allegedly kicked in the front door of a bus and then broke a window using that machete. He then said that he was carrying this machete and he was intending to do damage to the front windshield before actually leaving the area. But after they called a King County sheriff's officer, who's, I believe, a Metro officer. They found the guy not too far from where this incident allegedly occurred. The bus driver was taken to the location, said he was 100% certain that Couch was the guy who damaged the bus. So they made that arrest. And apparently, at least according to the police, he admitted to damaging the bus. They found a machete amongst his belongings. He has been placed under arrest under $30,000 bail, citing his prior convictions. And get this little detail. 44 warrants issued against him since 2015 for failing to appear in court or comply with court orders. 44 warrants. How do you get to 44 warrants? A system that allows you to get to 44 warrants. Look, I'm not going to criticize every single judge in every single case in which they let someone who maybe doesn't have a record free on their own personal recognizance and then they don't show up to court one time. Like, I'm not going to get upset with that judge because you have to look at the totality of the evidence. You have to look at the individual circumstances, the context of the arrest, etc. But 44 suggests that this is a person who never is held accountable. Right? How else do you explain getting to 44 warrants, including many for, if not all of them, the King 5 story isn't entirely clear, but I'm guessing a lot of them are based on not returning for court hearings. How do you get to 44? You allow that to happen. Why is this person not in jail? Why is this person not in jail? And I guarantee you that if you were in a position where you were ordered back to court as a taxpayer and you chose not to do it, you would suffer consequences. But when it comes to someone who happens to be homeless, they get endless chances. And then, officials act shocked that these kinds of crimes allegedly occur. How could you be shocked by any detail in this story? And of course, by the way, this is yet another example of what it's like taking King County Metro buses. Not every single route is like this. And I take the bus. I ride Metro to work usually 4 times a week, 3-4 times a week. It kind of depends on the week and what my schedule is. If I'm doing a TV hit in the morning. But my normal schedule is I walk the dog in the morning to his daycare and I hop on a bus because it's just easier. And D'Artagnan, did we talk about this? I got a dog. His name is D'Artagnan. He does not like riding in cars, so I don't drive him there. And the walk is I like walking my dog, and I certainly like starting my day with a nice long walk. So I enjoy it. He likes it. I like it. Win-win. Hates the car, so I don't drive him. So I get on a bus, and I can't tell you how often I've gotten on this one particular route, and most of the time there's some homeless guy who's either menacing looking. I haven't been attacked, but look, you got to be worried about some of these people, or just passed out on the bus. I've seen open drug use on buses, and the bus driver doesn't really do anything. Maybe the bus driver doesn't see. I suspect that that's not the case. But also, I don't completely blame the bus driver in these circumstances because they don't want to have to deal with these violent people. But this is the reality of taking a bus, particularly in Seattle. You have to deal with these people. And it is not something that makes you want to return. Now, in the same breath, I say I do return because I'm making that choice. But, I have to imagine there are a lot of people, especially families, or maybe a mom or a dad who doesn't want to take their kid on a bus or light rail because this is what they experience. Can you blame them? Can you blame them? And of course, they're not paying to get on the bus. They just walk on. I see that happen all the time. The people who pay are the saps who just want to follow the rules and consider me a sap, I guess. But this is wrong. This is absolutely wrong. And the branding for King County Metro or light rail is in the toilets. I've taken the subway a couple times while I'm here in New York, and they have very similar experiences. I feel worse on a subway, mostly because there's no ventilation, so you're kind of just stuck. It's kind of like on light rail. It's just not great. By the way, I'm in New York because tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I will be guest hosting Katie Pavlich Tonight. I'm super pumped. Normally I don't get nervous. I'm a little tiny smidgen nervous, mostly because I haven't done a hosting gig for TV before. This is my first time. and I'll have my monologue. I've been crafting some notes from my monologue. I'm not going to really write it until tomorrow because I don't know what the news of the day is going to be. But right now, it's centered around Graham Plattner and the Democrats. We'll see if that ends up changing tomorrow. And of course, whatever happens with Iran overnight and into tomorrow, that's going to have an impact. But it's really cool. Later today, after the show, in fact, I'm going down there to just get a feel for the set and the teleprompter and all those things. Hopefully I do well. Hopefully you'll tune in again, 7 p.m. tomorrow night on News Nation. We'll have, of course, clips on our social media accounts over the weekend and probably later tomorrow night. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending? Technology.
Obviously, as we talked about earlier in the week, Microsoft ends up laying off a whole bunch of people in Redmond and around the globe, 600 or so impacted, mostly, if not all, from the Xbox department within Microsoft. And the question always becomes how much of this is due to AI, and is AI replacing these workers? There's no doubt we've seen in the tech sector locally and internationally AI investments going up, while at the same time, these companies, whether it's Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, Snap, Oracle, they are losing some of their people. For some reason, King 5 decided to have a more nuanced conversation about how AI isn't directly replacing workers, at least at Microsoft. And look, there's nothing wrong with having a nuanced conversation. It just seems a little bit misplaced, I guess. They spoke with a computer engineer and professor at Seattle University, Oner Bakiner, and he said, you're just kind of oversimplifying things when you say that AI is taking people's jobs.
The typical response is that automation has replaced jobs, and so AI is responsible in that way. The truth is, a lot of these big tech companies, the hyperscalers, have been investing heavily in AI recently. Other teams or divisions, especially those that are perceived to be underperforming, don't get as much funding and attention.
Okay, so how does that dismiss the concerns about AI and automation in general taking over these jobs, King 5?
We can demonstrate those people skills. We can show genuine care for others. So I really think that as automation deepens, those skills will be even more necessary than before.
Okay, so nothing in this article nor in this feature gives us any real data points about how AI isn't taking over jobs. AI is, in fact, taking over jobs. It doesn't mean that those jobs will not be replaced with different jobs, meaning you lose a job because automation is better than the human. There might be another job that pops up, and maybe that was part of the conversation they were trying to have in this King 5 piece, or it seems like it was so subtle that I did not catch up on what they're trying to tell us. If your goal is to say that there are always going to be some human jobs, regardless of how advanced AI is, and that only humans possess certain levels of skill that you can never teach a computer, or you know how informed they are by empathy and sympathy in their skills. Okay, I don't know anyone who's arguing that all jobs go away as a direct result of AI. But trying to downplay the impact that AI and automation is having on the workforce is just absolute lunacy. Taking it out of the tech sector in particular, what's one thing that we're working on right now that's happening on the roads in this country? It's automated driving. We're going to get to a point where cars can drive themselves. And you might think to yourself, hey, that's great. I'd love to not have to really focus on the road as I'm driving in from Renton to Bellevue for work or Tukwila to Seattle for my job. Yeah, that's awesome. But it also means that the truck drivers are going to go away. It also means that the Uber drivers and Lyft drivers, those people end up going away. So this does replace jobs. Now, will they have work to find elsewhere? Sure, I guess. I don't know what that workforce is going to look like. But talk about just like it almost seemed like this King 5 article was trying to gaslight everyone into just saying there's not going to be any impact. It's like big AI ended up funding this story just to get everyone to relax about it. You should not be relaxing. Depending on the industry you're in, you're going to be dramatically, and I mean dramatically, disrupted by artificial intelligence and automation. Some of you are already in those industries that are being dramatically impacted. So anyone who tells you to sort of, it's more of a nuanced conversation. Yeah. whatever. You're not going to out nuance your way out of these conversations. It's real. The impact is real, and it's going to be felt. 1-800-465-8770 for your texts. You're listening to the Jason Rantz Show. When we come back, we're going to dive into the big local.
SeattleRed.com, the only place for conservatives in Seattle.
I do believe in a homeless industrial complex.
Local perspective without the liberal spin.
If this problem goes away, all that money stops coming into their nonprofits, their NGOs.
The place Seattle conservatives can trust.
The Democrats are telegraphing.
Bookmark SeattleRed.com now for exclusive content from right here in the Pacific Northwest.
It's not complicated.
SeattleRed.com.
Mitch here at Leathers, Washington's most eclectic home furnishings resource. There's a lot of chaos in the world, so take a break from social media and self-serving politicians. At Leathers in Issaquah, our design professionals will guide you to a happy place by elevating your home environment. More than leather, choose from the latest fabrics and solid wood, something for every room in your home. Our guaranteed low prices, quality, and service will lower your blood pressure and be kind to your wallet. So check the chaos at the door and come experience a Zen moment at Leathers in Issaquah.
Is the volatility of the stock market driving you crazy? Is your retirement account sinking, yet you're getting older and you're starting to worry about, will I have enough for retirement? What about the money in the bank? These banks pay nothing these days. How do we get growth to get to retirement? It's simple. Move into gold and silver. Want to know how to do it? Listen to my show, Striking Gold, with me, Kenny Michaels.
Sundays at 11 a.m. on Seattle Red.
Jason Rantz here. If your water heater is getting older, leaking, or running out of hot water, CM Heating has an affordable solution. Get a new gas or electric water heater installed starting at just $44.99 a month. With CM Heating's Comfort as a Service program, you'll get lifetime repairs and maintenance at no extra charge. Parts and labor covered for life. Plus, same-day installation is available in many cases. Schedule your free estimate today at cmheating.com.
License number CMHEAHL 750LP. Is your transmission light on? Hearing strange noises from your engine block? Bring your vehicle to General Transmission for expert diagnostic testing. No upsells or pressure, just honest, accurate answers from a family-owned shop for over 35 years. Check out their 5-star reviews to see comments from all their happy customers. Online at generaltransmission.com or 206-878-5759. That's generaltransmission.com or 206-878-5759.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Summer's finally here, and we're kicking it off with a whole lot of free. Free brake pads with Duralast rotors. Free oil filter with 5 quarts of oil. Free Armor All wipes with Armor All glass cleaner, and more. More free, so you can have more summer. Celebrate free at AutoZone. Now through July 27th. Restrictions apply.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
And Doug. Limu and I created a trick to help you remember that you can customize your car insurance and save with Liberty Mutual. You see, the shirts Limu and I wear are yellow, and yellow is the color of lemons, and lemons grow on trees, and trees provide oxygen, and oxygen helps us breathe, and breathing is how you live, and you can live more life when you save money by customizing your car insurance. I agree, Limu. It's really quite simple. Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
If you're over 62 and want to stay in your home without as much financial stress, this may be worth your attention. I'm Steve Teitler, owner of Best Mortgage. Every week I talk with seniors who love their home and want to stay, but feel financial pressure every month. Property taxes keep going up. Insurance costs more. Everyday bills add up, and for some, they still have a mortgage payment. If you're wondering how long your savings need to last, a reverse mortgage may be worth a look. It could eliminate your mortgage payment, pay off debts, and give you breathing room every month. Now, I want to make it clear it's not right for everyone, but for the right person, it can be a very smart financial tool. When you call Best Mortgage, you'll speak directly with me. I'll explain your options and tell you honestly if it makes sense for you. If you want to stay in your home with less financial stress, call me, 425-649-6000. Best Mortgage, Honest advice you can trust. 425-649-6000.
We know what it's like being a Seattle conservative.
You're free to make the choices all you want, but you're not free from those consequences.
It's the reason we created SeattleRed.com.
You know what? We're going to do carrot and stick.
Local news without the liberal spin.
No one likes carrots. Carrot doesn't work. You need a stick.
Exclusives like video content and opinions you won't get anywhere else.
Other media outlets are not going to cover this.
We will never get a chance like this again in our lifetimes.
Make it the first thing you read every day. SeattleRed.com.
It's a bully, but we aren't afraid of a fight. It's elusive, but our focus never fades. It's deadly, but we were born to defeat cancer. You may not have heard of us, but our work has helped millions impacted by cancer. We are the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. We are leaders in advancing breakthroughs in immunotherapy, genomics, and personalized medicine. This research saves lives. After 65 years of fighting blood cancers, we've arrived at a game-changing belief. The cures for cancer are in our blood. The drugs and treatments we've developed for blood cancers have helped people affected by many different types of cancers. We are the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. Beating cancer is in our blood. Learn more at LLS.org.
Snoqualmie, Mercer Island, Des Moines.
This is the Big Local on the Jason Rantz Show.
Shoreline, Woodinville, Burien.
Stories about you, not about Seattle.
Hey, look at the time. It is 4:30 on a Monday afternoon. That means it's time for the Big Local. Brought to you by the Scott Jennings Show. Heard weekdays from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. right here on Seattle Red. This is the part of the show where we completely ignore the stories coming out of Seattle, and instead we focus all of our attention on the communities you live in and care about most. We start in Federal Way, where a man who is 19 years old, his name is Caution Man, okay? He was shot by federal police officers on June 24th, and the parents, or at least the father and their attorney, is blaming the cops for what unfolded. In fact, they spoke with Cairo 7 TV demanding more transparency. And we don't have a lot of the facts yet. We do know that the 19-year-old called 911 to self-report that he was having some sort of mental health crisis and he was armed with a gun, which is precisely why you don't send social workers to deal with cases like this. You send armed people, cops. According to the Valley Independent Investigative Team, which is a multi-department task force that looks into the conduct of police officers, the cops got there and they did try as best as they could to de-escalate the situation, but the de-escalation didn't actually work, and it resulted in the teenager being shot by these cops. Now, he ended up going into surgery. He had spinal surgery on Thursday of last week. And the 19-year-old's grandfather spoke to Cairo 7 TV, and while I understand his perspective, this is not a reasonable or logical one.
He didn't ask for none of this. He asked for help. If help doesn't bring a bullet to the situation, don't come. That's not the help he's looking for.
I understand and I said father earlier, as a grandfather. I understand his anger, right? Like, I get it. But I'm sorry, it's emotional and not logical. You've got a 19-year-old who's self-reporting his suicidal thoughts, and I'm grateful that he self-reported it and got help. But keep in mind, he was armed with a gun. So what exactly did you expect? Did we want to send a social worker to the area and risk that person getting shot by your son who's having a mental health crisis, a mental breakdown of some kind, whatever it is? Of course not. We would never do something like that. We would never do something like that. You send cops who tried to de-escalate. I imagine what we'll find out once more details come out. The reason why the 19-year-old ended up getting shot was because he pulled the gun on the cops and threatened the cops' lives. This could have been a suicide by cop situation. And I don't want my cops getting shot, whether it's in Federal Way or Everett or anywhere else. I would prefer the cops not get shot. I'd prefer no one get shot. But if it's going to be between protecting themselves and neighbors and anyone else around them and the person who, yes, was suicidal, I'm going to choose them protecting themselves, each other, and the community. You can't just allow yourself to be shot at. But of course, they've got a lawyer. And they're pretending that this is somehow going to result in some jury determining that the cops were somehow wrong.
The Federal Way Police Department understood that this was not an ordinary call. It was a call from a young man who was self-reporting that he was in the midst of a mental health crisis.
I know, I said that.
He was dealing with a circumstance that he was not himself equipped to deal with.
Yeah, we know that. Thanks, Brian McDaniel, the family attorney. What would you have the cops do? Just be shot at? Assuming that's what happened? Now, maybe he's going to come out and say there was no threat posed by the kid, that it wasn't even a real gun. But everything I've heard so far is that the 19-year-old had a gun and that police used, at the start, less lethal options to get this guy to surrender. But that didn't work. Again, I don't have all the details, but I haven't heard anything from the lawyer, at least in this interview, indicating that the cops aren't telling you the full story at this point. And I imagine that if the lawyer had that information, he, of course, would provide that to us. Or maybe he's waiting. Now, the kid, the 19-year-old, he hasn't yet been charged with anything. It sounds like he will be charged eventually, but they are still dealing with him in the hospital. He's in critical condition. I want him to pull through. I sincerely want him to get the help that he needs. I'm just not going to throw cops under the bus for doing what I think any reasonable person would expect that they do if there was the threat of gun violence coming at them from the 19-year-old. Meanwhile, a 17-year-old kid has been arrested in connection with a string of armed robberies that targeted small businesses across King and Pierce counties. It started on May 31st at a gas station in the city we don't talk about. But then all of the crimes that are alleged, similar robberies, occurred in Issaquah and Lakewood. Officers get dispatched to a gas station after a 68-year-old employee called 911 to say he was just robbed at gunpoint. He said it was a gray sedan that pulled up outside. A young guy wearing a yellow and pink face mask and a dark blue jacket got into the store, pointed the gun at him, and demanded that he turn over the cash. He was only able to turn over like $100 worth of cash. And so the detectives started to investigate this case. And again, this was handled by Seattle police. We don't usually talk about Seattle in this segment. But the reason why we're talking about it is as they were investigating, they found information apparently linking it to a pattern of robberies that were happening all across the region. And they believe that a group of young people are responsible for the crimes, which primarily targeted convenience stores and beauty supply stores, according to Como TV. The officer involved here says they went into Lakewood, Issaquah, Bellevue. Quote, they caused significant trauma. The suspects entered the stores armed and aggressively pointed firearms, causing significant fear to all victims involved. And they believe, because remember, they've only caught one of the people allegedly involved here. And if it's a 17-year-old, I'm guessing it's gang-related, especially if you're thinking it's youth. Sounds gang-related to me. But they believe that anywhere from hundreds to thousands of dollars have been stolen from the suspects. And in some cases, they say the same business was targeted more than once. So now they're working in Renton, Kent, in addition to Issaquah, Lakewood, and Bellevue, to figure out who else is involved. But they seem pretty sure that there is a group doing this. And then finally, a terrifying moment for a man at the light rail station in Bellevue. It was caught on surveillance, where we're now being asked by Bellevue PD if you're a witness to come forward because there was an attempted stabbing that happened The suspect was caught and was arrested, but they're still seeking witness testimony. A 35-year-old man had been caught for something that happened on Sunday, but police said officers were able to identify him quickly. They say the video shows after some kind of incident on board, and it's unclear what happened on the light rail station. But you can see in the video the victim in all of this approach on the platform the 35-year-old suspect. And again, the Bellevue PD only released the portion of surveillance, I guess, that they had so far, which is on the light rail station platform itself. I imagine they're going to get the information, the further video from on board the light rail from Sound Transit. But you can see the man approaching the guy, the suspect, and can't hear anything, but he's clearly saying something to him. The suspect then reaches into it looks like his pant pocket, or maybe, it was his pant pocket, or perhaps, based on the surveillance footage angle, his jacket. Dude pulls out a huge kitchen knife, like a huge kitchen knife. I have none of the details as to why this happened. I imagine something happened on the light rail train itself, and the victim in all of this was responding and trying to approach this guy to be like, hey, what's up? What happened? Why'd you just do whatever it is? Dude pulls out a massive knife, and he doesn't quite lunge at the victim in the traditional sense, but he flashes it. He clearly says something to him to try to get him to back off, and obviously the guy backs off. The video, if you haven't seen the surveillance footage, it's nuts. This is terrifying. And one of the reasons why, there are a lot of us who say we should be armed to protect ourselves, because that was nuts. 1-800-465-8770 if you want to send me a text, because I'm on the road for CNN, which I'll be on tonight on The Debate Show at 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Also tomorrow, 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. I pick the news when we come back, and I've got a doozy. It's the Jason Rantz Show.
Mitch here at Leathers, Washington's most eclectic home furnishings resource. There's a lot of chaos in the world, so take a break from social media and self-serving politicians. At Leathers in Issaquah, our design professionals will guide you to a happy place by elevating your home environment. More than leather, choose from the latest fabrics and solid wood, something for every room in your home. Our guaranteed low prices, quality, and service will lower your blood pressure and be kind to your wallet. So check the chaos at the door and come experience a Zen moment at Leathers in Issaquah.
Is it time to get your home sold? Nick Southard with Upgrade Realty here. Selling hundreds of homes around the Sound for over 25 years has taught me presentation is everything. And with my luxurious marketing, you'll attract tons of buyers, sell fast at top dollar, and net more money. Because Upgrade Realty will save you thousands in fees for only 1% listing commission. To learn more, visit upgraderealty.com. Upgrade your listing for 1%. Upgraderealty.com.
Hey, Jason Rantz here. You've been told the same horror stories about real estate investing, that you manage construction headaches after you buy the property, then you eventually deal with tenants who are pain in the backside, which is why Legacy Group Capital does something way different. Legacy Group Capital, based in Bellevue, they lend on real estate. They're the ones that acquire all the real estate, they build, they develop it, and then they share the profits with the investors who are smart enough to decide to invest. These are people who didn't get lucky, they just got smart. Smart because the track record from Legacy Group Capital includes double-digit returns with zero investor losses. Right now, Legacy Group Capital's Northwest Fund is offering a fixed 9% rate of return, and yes, IRAs are accepted. Go with Legacy Group Capital online at legacyg.com, the letter G, legacyg.com, or give them a call at 425-635-4700. 425-635-4700.
We wouldn't be celebrating America 250 if it wasn't for a strong foundation set by the framers. Hamilton built America's financial foundation on sound money, later embodied by the gold standard. But we abandoned that discipline in 1971 and have seen inflation erode the dollar's value. What's the foundation of your savings? Is it gold or something that can be devalued? Hi, it's Dr. Ron Paul, and I encourage you to speak with my friends at Birch Gold Group about diversifying an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in gold. Learn more by requesting a free info kit on gold IRAs. Just text the word SECURE to the number 989898. Let Birch Gold help you build your foundation with gold. Text the word SECURE to the number 989898. Text SECURE to 989898.
Everyone always asks me, what were your top reasons for choosing Advanced Hair? Well, allow me to share, along with some details, on, get this, their once-a-year summer savings event. Okay, first off, Advanced Hair stands by the results, and I'm living proof those results are second to none. With Advanced Hair, your own natural hair is guaranteed to grow. Secondly, Advanced Hair combines top-rated physicians with modern technology, creating a concierge quality experience that blew away my expectations. And lastly, Advanced Hair's Advanced FUE begins regrowing your own natural hair the very next day. It is quick, simple, and easy. Now, if you have a flexible schedule this summer and you've been waiting for that special savings opportunity, well, it's here. Advanced Hair's Summer Savings Event will get you the most hair for your dollar. It's their best offer ever. For details to schedule your free consultation, call 425-449-8185. One-day treatment, life-changing results. Your new hair is guaranteed to grow. Before and after pictures at advancedhair.com.
SeattleRed.com, the only place for conservatives in Seattle.
I do believe in a homeless industrial complex.
Local perspective without the liberal spin.
If this problem goes away, all that money stops coming into their nonprofits, their NGOs.
The place Seattle conservatives can trust.
The Democrats are telegraphing.
Bookmark SeattleRed.com now for exclusive content from right here in the Pacific Northwest.
It's not complicated.
SeattleRed.com.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. I came out in the 11th grade. Nobody was embracing you. The kids were cruel. It was very difficult to be gay. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma. The hard part was determining that I was going to do it, but I definitely didn't do it alone.
At age 30, with the help of her mentor, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
I have a mentor, Maria. She convinced me to continue my education and to finish what I started to get my diploma. Just never judges. She's a true role model. If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, go get it. You can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
You pick the topic on the Jason Rantz Show.
Okay, yes, normally you get to pick the news, but as I say, when I'm out on the road, it makes it impossible for me to actually tabulate the votes that come in. The machine that does the tabulation is too expensive. It gets me all sorts of looks from the TSA security. So I'm picking the news. And in light of the fact that in just a couple hours from now, we will have the U.S. men's national team in Seattle playing another stage. This is the round of 16 against Belgium. I thought I'd play some pretty great audio from NBC News out of Boston. And it is such good video. And I saw it actually on Saturday, and it was being spread by people sort of celebrating the 4th of July and noting that there's so many people who have come into this country as fans. You've seen like a disproportionate number of these videos of people from Germany, Scotland, and Japan. And you've got another one of the stories of I came here not knowing what to expect because of how poorly the press talks about the United States under Trump. It's this hellhole. It's a fascist country, blah, 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 blah. But what he found was not just a friendly country, but when he was in Boston at the game, he found a super friendly fan who brought him to tears.
Sorry, sir. It makes you teary. Why? Why? Help us understand. Why is it so impactful? He's crying. To you?
Sebastian Krause never imagined his trip to America would be so emotional.
Yeah. No, this is.
He's turning away.
Happy tears. Yeah.
in just a few weeks being here.
I fall in love with this country, and this was so emotional. I even cried in the stadium.
It's a huge departure from what he was expecting before traveling to follow the German soccer team in its World Cup run.
To be honest, I was a bit scared or had the fear to travel to the United States. News about shootings and criminals and that the country is not safe.
I mean, and in fairness, depending on where it is you're going, he's not completely wrong to have that concern.
Takes us home. It's great. America is great.
Sebastian met a group of strangers who offered him a ride to his hotel.
What is the best city?
Boston.
That's Bob Series and his family, New Englanders who showed a group of Germans that Boston is warmer than some might believe.
Bob, thank you so much. Love USA.
Enjoy your time in the U.S.
To me, I watched the video by myself maybe 40 times. I had tears in my eyes.
Sebastian was more upset about the prospect of leaving America than Germany being eliminated from the tournament. That kindness he experienced is also what many locals and transplants have lived as well.
I loved living here. I thought the people were always so kind.
People here are very polite. The World Cup just made it easier for folks to see.
I certainly talk to a lot more strangers than I normally do.
And you think it's because of the World Cup?
I do.
Americans are not rude. Germans are not rude if we are together.
Germans aren't the friendliest. They're not rude, but they certainly have personalities that are not inherently friendly the way I think Americans generally have personalities outside of maybe New York. They have kind of, I don't think they're rude necessarily, but they have rougher personalities. You kind of have to pull the friendliness out of them. But I've been to Germany multiple times. I've been to Hamburg, Frankfurt, and Berlin, or maybe it was Munich and Berlin. I can't remember. Definitely Berlin, and I hated it all 3 times. The food was outstanding. I like schnitzel, but the people aren't the friendliest by nature, to me at least.
We can achieve great things.
Sebastian's going to be sticking around for a little longer. He's going to spend the 4th of July in Washington, D.C. Then he goes back home to Germany to his family and friends. He's going to be telling them all about our country. And as for our Good Samaritan Bob, I spoke with him over the phone. He says that he's just trying to pay back all the kindness that he received when he traveled the world.
Good for him. And, you know, the post I saw with this video from just, you know, some random guy that had posted this and the algorithm on X decided was worthy of showing me, and I'm grateful that X algorithm did, said, imagine if we Americans treated each other the way we're treating visitors for the World Cup. That would be the greatest birthday of all for the country. And again, this was kind of framed around the 4th of July, and I can totally appreciate that. Seriously. There are some people who are just needlessly mean-spirited and angry all the time, who just thrive on trolling people, and it drives me up a wall. So, for example, and I got into it a little bit, this is why I generally try not to read the comments on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Jason Rantz Show. You had a bunch of, you know, trolls who would just come on and just try to be mean to me and to Republicans and to you guys who follow me. And about a month and a half ago, I decided, and I posted this online, I said, you know what, I'm kind of done allowing these people to take total control of the account, even though all those trolls lead to higher engagement, which then ensures my content gets posted to more people. Like the more engagement, the better the algorithm will respond. And that's obviously good for my content to get out there because, you know, we post links. I need you to click on those links of my stories. But I said to myself, you know what? These people are not contributing in any way, shape, or form. I don't need to have my career be benefited by trolls. Not people merely who I disagree with. That's not what I'm talking about. But people whose only intention is to stir the pot, to be mean, to trigger people. And yes, every time they do that, my content is shared more widely. I don't need that. I decided I'm just going to block those people. I just don't want to deal with those trolls anymore. Come in good faith and have arguments all you want. I sincerely don't care when people disagree with me. Again, as you'll find out tonight, a couple hours from now, when I'm on CNN Newsnight. Like, they disagree with everything I say, half the panel, more than half the panel, and I disagree usually with almost everything they say. That's fine. It's the intentional bad faith trolling I just don't want to deal with. And that NBC Boston clip of the German fan is such, and the message that it was accompanying it online is so great, right? Just treat it, you're being as nice as possible to the Bosnian fan who's coming to town, to the Belgium fan who's coming to town, although maybe not today. We're probably going to be a little bit meaner to the Belgian fans unless we win. Then we're especially nice because we're rubbing it in their face. Pushing that aside, why not treat other people who you disagree with politically with the same level of respect? They're just incapable of doing that, it seems. And I think a lot of it is almost resentment that you've got people who are coming here and not trash talking this country. I am so grateful that the country has, on the soccer side, figured out who Erling Haaland is. Erling Haaland is the star forward and striker for Manchester City. That's my team, Man City, in soccer for the English Premier League. I love Man City, I love EPL, and I love Erling Haaland. He's a biohacker. He's the guy who drinks like raw milk and does red light therapy and saunas and cold plunges and eats only healthy food and pure food, none of the trash stuff. And he's got a personality. And because he's so good and he literally looks like Thor, the American media and social media have found this guy fascinating. And he comes to this country for the World Cup. He plays for Norway. And he's doing really well. He's in the running for most goals scored in the World Cup. He's been followed on social media. He's been posting a lot of videos, or the team has. And he has fallen in love with Dallas to the point where he went and got cowboy boots and a cowboy hat that he's going to bring back to Norway at the end of this adventure here.
A rodeo later. He's on a rodeo right now.
He's on a saddle with a cowboy hat.
Feeling like a proper cowboy. Dallas is amazing.
This is
unbelievable. It's so nice. I'm coming back here, I'll tell you what. People are so nice here. So positive. I don't know what it is. They're just so they're just enjoying life. It's amazing.
They're very friendly.
Yeah, so friendly. I'm going to New York tomorrow, and in 5 days we're playing Brazil. That is sick. Sandy, you need to get some shoes.
He's wearing a cowboy hat. It's huge.
There it is.
It's now getting branded.
It's not that.
Come on.
No.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it fits good.
He's just so proud. And they branded it with his initials and his number, EH9. I love these videos. If you have not yet found out who Erling Haaland is, just find him on X. ERLING is Erling. His last name is HAALAND. Dude is a character. Follow him on social media wherever it is you can, or just follow any of the videos posted about him. Such a good dude. 1-800-465-8770 for your texts. You're listening to The Jason Rantz Show.
Mitch here at Leathers, Washington's most eclectic home furnishings resource. There's a lot of chaos in the world, so take a break from social media and self-serving politicians. At Leathers in Issaquah, our design professionals will guide you to a happy place by elevating your home environment. More than leather, choose from the latest fabrics and solid wood, something for every room in your home. Our guaranteed low prices, quality, and service will lower your blood pressure and be kind to your wallet. So check the chaos at the door and come experience a Zen moment at Leathers in Issaquah.
Jason Rantz here with Greg Nunn from None Better Tax Resolution. Greg, there are a ton of national advertisers offering services similar to yours. Why shouldn't I go with one of them?
National firms are an interesting phenomena, if you will, because I hear from clients that tried them initially, and they tell me these stories that are just really hard to believe, Jason. They'll call, and the person that they're talking to is really a salesperson. They don't really know the tax resolution business at all. They're trying to make a sale. And so they overpromise, and they'll hook them with a very low initial fee. Then when that case starts moving down the road, all of a sudden the person's getting a phone call, oh, you need to pay us thousands of dollars to get this thing done. And they tell me sometimes it never gets done.
So it's a tax resolution scheme without any of the resolution.
I really believe part of it is.
If you're having trouble with the IRS, call Greg Nunn with None Better Tax Resolution. 425-947-1967 or Google NUNN. None Better Tax Resolution.
John Curley here. When the AC starts acting up, your first thought is, oh my gosh, I need a whole new system. What's that going to cost me? Hold on. Don't panic. The best thing to do is call Home Comfort Alliance. Their approach is so simple. They repair first, replace face only if needed. Their technicians diagnose the real problem before recommending anything, because a worn-out part or a simple fix can often get your cooling back up and running without the cost and time of a full replacement. And if you need something new, ask about a heat pump for year-round comfort. That's what we did at the barn. Smart move. Keeps you cool in the summer and warm when winter comes around. All in one system. To find out the cost either way, don't wait on hold or guess. Just head to homecomfortalliance.com and get real pricing in under 60 seconds. No pressure, no guesswork, just honest answers from people that have been doing this for almost 50 years. For heating, cooling, plumbing, or electrical, do what we did. Call the comfort people. homecomfortalliance.com. That's homecomfortalliance.com.
Did you know that 4,000 women are diagnosed with breast cancer every year in Washington state? I'm Dr. Suzette Miranda with Northwest Hope and Healing. We provide financial support for breast and gynecologic cancer patients in our community. Join us at Life in Color, a summer brunch, auction, and fashion show on August 23rd at the Somme Hotel in Woodinville for an unforgettable afternoon of inspiration. Get your tickets now for Life in Color on August 23rd at nwhopeandhealing.org. That's nwhopeandhealing.org.
Seattle Red on 770 KTTH Seattle, 97.3 KIRO FM, HD3 Tacoma Seattle, 94.5 K233 DT Eastlake, 33 BU Seattle.
The Iran conflict escalating. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. Roads and bridges around Bandar Abbas, a key hub to controlling the Strait of Hormuz, targeted by U.S. forces as the U.S. steps up its airstrikes against Iran.
For the past 3 days, Iran has not attacked any commercial vessels transiting the Strait of Hormuz, though traffic has slowed. The White House relaunched the air campaign in response to the regime's previous attacks on shipping.
Fox's Lucas Tomlinson in Tel Aviv. The White House maintains the U.S. and Iran continue to negotiate an end to the fighting. President Trump set to address the nation in about an hour. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says the focus will be on what she says are newly declassified intelligence assessments about vulnerabilities in election systems in 2020.
It will shock you if you have an honest eye listening to the president tonight, and everything he is saying will be backed by facts and by evidence that will be provided this evening.
Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer on the Senate floor this afternoon called the president weak and flailing and said he has a deeply unpopular agenda.
What is his response to his impending reckoning? To pull out every stop to cheat, to undermine the right to vote, rig the midterm elections in his favor, knowing massive losses are otherwise inevitable.
Tune in to special coverage of President Trump's address to the nation at 9 p.m. Eastern on FoxNewsRadio.com. At least 2 people are dead in devastating flooding in South Texas, the same area hit by massive flooding a year ago.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott confirmed a man near Comfort, Texas was swept away in an RV, and a woman near Uvalde was swept away while driving. The Guadalupe River surged to nearly 17 feet.
Fox Weather's Brandy Campbell in Kerrville. More rain is expected heading into tomorrow. Governor Abbott says rescuers have saved more than 200 people. America is listening to Fox News.
Point.
Hey, you okay? You don't normally miss those shots.
I just haven't been as regular lately, and it's making me feel sluggish.
You should try Metamucil. It's been a game changer for me. Metamucil's plant-based psyllium fiber helps trap and remove the waste that weighs you down.
Ace.
You're moving better than you were last week.
Definitely.
Metamucil keeps you moving. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Learn more at metamucil.com.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Jason Rantz on Fox News.
A new op-ed says Democrats in Washington state are bragging about GDP growth. Jason Rantz wrote that op-ed.
GDP growth in Washington is higher than the national average, and yet if you look at where those growth numbers are coming from, it's from AI. They're trying to actively ban AI in Washington state. Both Seattle and Spokane, the 2 largest cities in the state, have decided to put these 1-year moratoriums on growth of data centers.
Jason Rantz, every afternoon, 3 to 7 on Seattle Red.
Coach! The yellow light!
afternoon and welcome to the Jason Rantz Show. We are here live on Seattle Red 770 AM, online at seattlered.com. We got a lot to get to this hour. Brian Haywood stops by to react to the big Supreme Court decision on trans athlete bans and how that's going to impact us here in his initiative in Washington State. But first, this is pathetic. Thanks, Pramila Jayapal. She's got something that's trying to convince you to give her money. It's not working, though. That's what's trending.
What's trending? Dum alert.
This is pretty sad. It's funny, but it's also sad. Congresswoman squad grandmother Pramila Jayapal is trying to squeeze campaign cash out of her supporters by dangling in front of them a paneer tikka masala recipe that you can get for free. Thousands of recipes of that dish for free online. But if you donate $3 to her reelection campaign fund, you'll get her specific recipe. And she included a photo of the dish she apparently made at home. I've got it embedded in the article at seattlered.com. It looks disgusting. It's too thick. It's way too thick for a tikka masala. I don't it almost looks like it's got a thick gravy consistency. It's supposed to be a little bit looser than that. Now, dare I be accused of being the white guy telling the Indian woman how to make paneer tikka masala? I have eaten it before, and I like Indian food. This does not, did you see the photo? It does not look good. It does not look good. Again, we've got the photo embedded over at seattlered.com. It's towards the end of the article. And the only reason I know this is because I'm on her email listserv. She sends, I'm pretty sure, at least one email a day begging for money. And you're looking at the photo now. Is it right? It looks too thick.
Yeah.
And I like paneer tikka masala. I love paneer. Oh, my God. What's the one with the spinach? With the paneer saag, I think it's called, or saag, S-A-A-G or something like that. That's good. I really like Indian
That's
food.
just cultural appropriation.
I'm ordering it from an Indian restaurant. I'm not making it myself. I've made it myself one time.
And it's mansplaining because you're telling her how she should make it.
Well, okay. Then I am mansplaining. I had such an offensive joke. Should I do it? I feel like I might be protected given my identity. I'm going to do it, but it is a joke. I shouldn't do it. No, I'm going to do it. I'm Jew-splaining a little bit because I'm telling you how to get the recipe for free. Come on, that's funny. That is funny.
That's funny.
Well, you can't laugh at it.
Well, then what's the point of telling the joke?
For other Jews. We can laugh at it. You're not allowed to laugh at it.
But I'm philo-Semitic. I mean...
No, just because you produce... It's like, how could I be racist? I have a black best friend.
Well, I kind of agree with that logic, honestly.
It's like, how could I be an anti-Semite? I produce a radio show for a Jew. It's just a joke. Everyone relax. But she writes in this email, a delicious home-cooked meal to help tide you through stressful times. Okay. All you had to do is give her $3 to every person who makes a donation today to help us reach our $200,000 end-of-quarter goal. I'm going to send the recipe for the dish in the Act Blue receipt. Of course, she's using Act Blue, which is currently under federal scrutiny for not having the right rules in place, regulations in place to fairly scrutinize foreign donations. Donate here to unlock this delicious recipe from my kitchen. I mean, I'll donate to keep your recipe under lock and key based on that photo. Your donation is more than this delectable recipe. Your donation helps power our campaign and is part of the movement against the MAGA extremism we've been witnessing since Trump re-entered the White House. Okay, relax. Dial that down a bit. I got 2 emails from her today saying, I'll be honest, Jason, we're not going to hit our goal unless you donate today. I got one of those things. It was funny. She indicated, I think it was 4,000 or 4,000 away from hitting our $2,000 goal. And it had an image of the amount raised. It said $196,000. What a coincidence that she got exactly $196,000. Isn't that weird? Especially given the fact that, I mean, donating $3.
Yeah.
So it was odd that it landed right on that number. Not even 196,113. This is very specific. How much you want to bet she didn't raise $4,000 off of that email?
I doubt it. Yeah.
There's no way. Everyone always, and this is not, in fairness, criticism in this case of a tactic that she uses, because they all use this tactic. Jason, we are just $200 away. And if we don't hit this, we're not going to meet our goals and we're not going to do X, Y, and Z. I can't go back to the president and say we didn't raise this money. Jason, will you chip in? It's all the same. It's all a scam to get you to give money. And it's meant for a very specific group of believers who are fine donating. And look, there are campaigns that are being honest about it, and there are campaigns that are deserving of your dollars. I would just never give to Pramila Jayapal, and I certainly wouldn't give it for a stupid recipe I could get for free anywhere right now. You want to know the life hack to get the free recipe?
What?
Folks at home, go on the Google and type in paneer tikka masala recipe, and you'll get literally 1,010.
Oh, okay.
You will be overwhelmed with recipes. Although what you'll find out pretty quickly, they're almost all the same. It's almost all the same. It is a dish that has a very specific number of ingredients in it. That's it. Now, at the same time, she's going on MS Now, and she's doing something a little bit disingenuous, although in fairness, it's the interviews that are framing, and excuse me, this is CNN. She's going on, and they're having the conversation about the party's acceptance of socialists. That in New York, you had 3 Democratic socialists, or at least 2 members of the DSA, and a third extremist who end up getting elected. And is that going to damage the Democrat Party? Now, I don't know why you would talk to Pramila Jayapal about that question. She is a part of the problem. She is a reason why this large tent for the Democrats is collapsing. She's like kicking the poles out from beneath them. She is a big piece of the problem in the party, which is she's not even really a Democrat. She identifies as a Democrat because it gets her elected. But well, I'm not going to call her specifically a socialist. She does align with all the other viewpoints coming from the socialists. She is also open borders. She's also a police abolitionist. I don't think she's gone on record saying she supports the abolition of prisons, but she has supported defunding the police. She's obviously a Jew hater, as she's made clear multiple times. She's an anti-Semite. She's anti-Israel to an extreme degree. So I don't know what she has to add to this, but let's listen to her try to explain why Democrats are a big tent party.
Well, look, I think we're always told as progressives that we're a big tent party, that there has to be room for people who don't agree with progressives 100% of the time.
And that's fair, right? I hold that same view for Republicans, where it's okay to not agree with everything that a Republican agrees with and still call yourself a Republican. I'm okay with that. I would rather have someone voting with us even 10% of the time versus 0%. I will take 10% over 0% 100% of the time. I'm not going to change my values or try to placate that one person who only agrees with us 10%, but I'll take the vote when it comes in. There's something to be said, however, about having a tent that's so large, you're letting the guy in with a Totenkopf tattoo. Like, Nazis should not be allowed within the party. That's too big. That's too big. David Duke, you should not want as a member. Graham Plattner, you should not want as a member.
Well, she just believes in open borders for the party, too, I guess.
I guess so. I mean, again, to her, my underlying criticism of asking her about this is she's not someone who would fit in the normal Democratic tent because of her very fringe views.
That's got to be true the other way as well. If we are a big tent party, we have to have both sides of the big tent included.
Both sides? That doesn't even make sense, by the way. What do you mean both sides? So Republicans? Then you're definitely no longer a party. What does that even mean?
And I think there are going to be issues where we don't agree 100% of the time. But I think what Leader Jeffries said is right. We are focused on making life better for the American people. And Democratic voters across the country are choosing people they think will stand up and fight for working people.
Turn your mic off.
She couldn't believe what she was hearing.
She's like, that was actually a spit take. It just, she's doing what she can, I guess. I don't know. Whatever. 1-800-465-8770 for your text. we do have some sad news, and it is what's trending.
What's trending on social media?
I need everyone to sit down for a moment. If you're driving, maybe pull over. I'll give you a few moments because this is going to be tough for me to get through. You know Freddie from Germany, the social media sensation that the Globe fell in love with? He deactivated his Twitter account. Now, there's some people who are saying he deactivated. I think you're in that camp because you think it was a whole big grift.
No, I don't think that. I think people are saying that.
Some people are saying that this was something from the beginning that was contrived, I guess, to get him freebies or to promote the World Cup. I believe the actual reason behind this, mostly because I started to look up, well, what happened? Why did he do it? And a lot of people were saying, you're being doxxed. People were finding out who he was. And to be fair to Freddie, he never really tried to make this about him or any sort of brand, at least not one beyond just Freddie LA7, which was his X account. He never showed his face in any of the photos that he took. Never. Or the face of his friend that he was with. But he also said in a statement he released on Instagram, which is still there, "Hey, everyone. Just wanted to let you know why I deactivated my account. 1, this was the plan all along, even before we started the World Cup trip." I find that a little hard to believe. Why would you why would that be your plan? As a nobody, you plan to just get rid of. So as a nobody, you jumped on X to document your travels, and then your intent was, upon being a no one documenting said travels, you would then deactivate? That doesn't make any sense. Number 2, this is really what it is. Too many people seem to have a problem with us having a genuinely good time here in the country. And this is ruining the fun a bit for us because we really just wanted to document our road trip and never expected that people would have a problem with it. And then comes the real hammer. 3, people are digging in my 22,000 posts to find a handful, in their opinion, of controversial posts and post them with zero context to make me look like a bad person. I had not seen anything that was particularly egregious. There were some, and I don't even remember what they were, but there were some that I looked at and said, oh, he's a conservative. Or one of them, oh, I remember one of them. He's like, what Hamas did on October 7th was wrong.
Yeah, although I saw that one, and then I saw another post saying that was like fake or something.
But okay, so that was the only one I saw.
But yeah.
So I have no idea what his controversial, and maybe he had very controversial positions, right? I don't know. I didn't see any of them. Also, I've seen that some people are upset that it's not our first time in the USA, which is surprising me because I even replied to someone at the beginning of the trip that I've been here before. Did someone, or even he, say that he was never in this country? I saw some people claiming, oh, I thought you were never here. I don't remember that.
I guess maybe people would say it was heavily implied just because he was acting so astonished. But
well, maybe he's never been to
it's a big
any
country.
Of these places. I mean, that's the whole part of you. Someone coming into this country who's visited New York and had nothing to say, but then goes viral for like, I went to Topeka, or I went to Kansas City. I went to all these cities I've never even heard of, in states I never even knew existed, and I love it. Like, why would that be dismissed because he went to New York once? I can understand that it seemed like that for many because of our reactions to the stuff we saw, which is because we've never been to any of the places we visited. It was, for all of us, our first time in the South. I've only been to the main tourist places like New York City, LA, and Las Vegas. Okay. This is an end of an era. Are we in the camp, though, that this is just going to make the conspiracies worse? That he was a plant? Who would he be here as a plant for? FIFA? They didn't need any extra promotion. Maybe this is... I know who it is.
Who?
I don't want to... Oh, gosh, should I out it? He's very good on social media. And he has a reason to celebrate the country. It's Barron Trump. He's helping his dad.
He doesn't look tall enough, though.
But it's all AI.
Oh.
It's all AI. How could it be fake, though? Because the people all these companies that reached out, they got an actual person whose name was Freddie. And I imagine they had to collect ID on hopping on a plane to go somewhere or getting hotel rooms. I hope it's not a scam. That would be devastating. I think the internet might cease to exist if this gets exposed as a scam. People won't believe anything anymore. Do you want to live in a world in which Freddie is seen as a grifter? Do you really want to live in a world if we find out that Freddie never existed, the person really was just posting AI slop and is like, from a Russian bot farm?
If we can't trust him, who can we trust?
Yeah, I don't like this because I was ready to say, I hope he gets someone pregnant and they have a child here and becomes a citizenship by birthright.
Mm-hmm.
Take that, SCOTUS. I was this close to holding that position.
It'd be like, it's like at the end of The Dark Knight when they have to hide all the horrible things that Harvey Dent did.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it would devastate the city.
Somewhere, some CIA agent is doing that right now. And they enlisted the help of Elon Musk. Like, okay, we got to purge the internet of these tweets. The world cannot know that he is a Holocaust denier, that he's a flat earther. The world cannot know. We cannot. He means too much. The symbolism is too much.
He's the hero we deserve and not the one we need right now.
That would be wild. I'm sure he just didn't want the added pressure when he's done. And I guess I understand that if you don't really have, what is he doesn't want the world to know who he actually is and what he looks like. What would he do with the newfound nearly 1 million followers he amassed over all of this? What would he do with that? Because now it seems like there's a lot of pressure to either keep up the journey and pivot this into some sort of business, or you're going to feel like you're under the microscope every single time you tweet something you would normally tweet, like something about politics, or I'm not a Swiftie. I actually didn't like the last Taylor Swift album. That could end poorly for Taylor and for Freddie. So poor guy. He couldn't wait till the end of the World Cup. I know Germany just lost yesterday, but give it a little bit of time. And it's curious that he kept his Instagram up, which I imagine is he uses it for stories, which are ephemeral, and maybe he doesn't use it for photos, which is a weird thing to have Instagram and not use it for. At least it's not a blue sky. Then we would know he's a liberal. Then I'd be totally okay with him never showing his face again. I'm betting he'll be back. I think he'll be back. And I'll be there for it. We're waiting for you, Freddie. This Jew to that German, I'm saying we've built a bridge. And let's keep it erect. Let's keep it up there. Come on, man. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending? Let's get political.
Adam Smith was on CNN kind of doing the opposite of what Pramila Jayapal was doing, which is warning about socialists in the party.
There's two big things that are going on here that need to be separated. On the one hand, there is a real desire within the Democratic Party, within the broader, coalition that we put together. They want to see us, fight Trump more effectively.
And
they want to see us go after income inequality more aggressively, and they want to see new, younger faces. And I think there's broad appeal for that across the Democratic coalition. Get after, economic populism, greater economic opportunity, too much concentration of wealth in this country. I completely agree.
And by the way, only poor people say that. Oh, there's too many people who are rich and I'm not. Okay.
Or just envious people.
I've never held that position. Have you ever held that position legitimately?
No.
Right. I've never, I might have said, man, I wish I had that. But I've never been angry at someone else.
Yeah, I don't hold it against them.
Yeah, I'm like, how dare you? There are people who I don't like, and I guess I would prefer them go bankrupt. But that's not because they're wealthy. It's just because I don't like them and they're successful. You know what I mean? There's a little bit of a difference.
We need new, younger, more energetic leaders. I get that too. And we got to effectively fight Trump. So you've got that. But then when you look at some of these Democratic socialists that are running, their ideology is vastly more radical than that. And you see that in expressing support for communism, in expressing support for open borders, defunding the police, a fundamental attack on America itself and the premises behind it. And so it's dangerous.
Remember who he's running against for re-election, by the way, Kshama Sawant. the socialists.
Dangerous. That people come in saying, hey, I'm going to fight Trump, I'm new, I'm going to get after income inequality, but they're pushing ideas and agendas that are not popular in this country and, frankly, not good policy on immigration enforcement, again, on criminal justice, on the basic concept of personal responsibility, accountability, and economic opportunity. So it is a significant challenge for our coalition.
And this from someone who's been trying to veer a little bit harder left so he can stave off the attack of Kshama Sawant. So he's kind of trying to have it both ways, which my guess is will not work out for him. That you're going to have to pick a lane. You're going to have to pick a lane. And he's been a little all over the place while we're hearing more and more from the fringe, including Michigan Senate candidate Abdul El Sayed, who is promoting his violent rhetoric and doubling down on it.
Last name check before I let you go. Michelle Obama used to have a phrase, when they go low, we go high. You have a variation on that. What is it?
Listen, I deeply respect the First Lady.
That's your phrase? When they go low, we go high. What's yours? I deeply respect the First Lady. That's not a great line.
I do think, though, that Democrats need to recognize, and I learned this the hard way, right? I was a kid named Abdul in school. I learned the hard way that if you let them take your lunch, guess what happens?
What?
You don't eat lunch.
Oh.
And I want to eat lunch.
Kind of fat.
I want everybody to eat lunch. So if they're going to show up and try to bully us, don't be surprised when we hit back. I'm not going to start the fight, but I'll end it.
I've heard it said that you said when they go low, we choke them out.
I mean, their choice to go low. Don't go low. I'm just saying.
Okay. It's ironically also what he said to Israel after the Hamas attack. Hey, you brought this on yourselves. Oh, okay. Gee, thanks. 1-800-465-8770 if you want to send me a text. He didn't say that directly, by the way. I was not quoting him. 1-800-465-8770. When we come back, Brian Haywood from Let's Go Washington. How does the Supreme Court decision help here in Washington State? He will explain.
This is Dr. Marks from Vitality Medical PNW in Linwood. As you age, you have two choices. Accept the changes happening in your body or prevent them. I work with patients every day and help them reverse the effects of aging and stay sharp mentally and physically. Stay strong, stay independent, stay capable. Schedule a consultation with me and receive free labs. We work with patients all over Western Washington at our Linwood location and through convenient telemedicine. Find out more at vitalitymedicalpnw.com.
Hey, how's your money situation? Are you ready for retirement? Well, if you want to know what the pros are doing to make wealth multiply and retire like royalty, then you need to listen to this show, The Money Professor with Chris Longworth. Get your money right and tune in every weekend, Saturdays at 10 a.m. and Sundays at 12 noon on Seattle Red.
Hey, Jason Rantz here. Let me tell you what no one warns you about when it comes to owning a home across the Puget Sound. The air conditioner always dies on the hottest day of the year. And then comes the surprise bill, the one that ruined your month. CM Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, and Electrical decided to fix that. A brand new high-efficiency AC system, any size up to 5 tons, installed for as low as $179.99 a month, $0 up front. They call it Comfort as a Service, and it flips the entire game. Here's the part that matters. It comes with their lifetime warranty. Lifetime repairs, parts and labor covered, annual maintenance, tune-ups, even filters. No additional charge ever. A smart Wi-Fi thermostat included. Plus tax incentives that knock down your utility bills. No big upfront cost, no surprise repair bills, no guessing. Go to cmheating.com and schedule your free estimate today. This is a no-brainer. cmheating.com. That's cmheating.com.
License number CMHEAHL 751LW.
Do you owe back taxes or have unfiled tax returns? The IRS won't quit until they get your money. Here's great news, fresh from those in the know. Major changes have happened at the IRS. If you owe more than $10,000, you may be eligible for a 99% reduction of what you owe. Haven't filed a return for a while? Their happy clients are talking.
The IRS was going to levy my bank account, but Guardian was able to prevent that and fix all my IRS issues.
Thanks again, Guardian Tax.
Need relief from crushing tax debt? The IRS now has special programs. Guardian Tax knows all about them. Personal or business, this is the fresh new break you've been hoping for.
We aren't the company you call when you need a hug because you're scared of the IRS. Guardian Tax is the company that wins when you need it most.
Guardian Tax Service is really great to work with. They really help me out. I'd recommend them highly.
Call now for a free confidential consultation. 800-900-1717. 800-900-1717. 800-900-1717.
If you're over 62 and worried about how far your retirement savings will go, I'd like you to hear this. I'm Steve Teitler, owner of Best Mortgage. Every week I talk with seniors who love their home and want to stay, but feel financial pressure every month. Property taxes keep going up. Insurance costs more. Everyday bills add up, and for some, they still have a mortgage payment. If you're wondering how long your savings need to last, a reverse mortgage may be worth a look. It could eliminate your mortgage payment, pay off debts, and give you breathing room every month. Now, I want to make it clear it's not right for everyone, but for the right person, it can be a very smart financial tool. When you call Best Mortgage, you'll speak directly with me. I'll explain your options and tell you honestly if it makes sense for you. If you want to stay in your home with less financial stress, call me, 425-649-6000. Best Mortgage. Honest advice you can trust. 425-649-6000.
We know what it's like being a Seattle conservative.
You're free to make the choices all you want, but you're not free from those consequences.
It's the reason we created SeattleRed.com.
You know what we're going to do? Carrot and stick.
Local news without the liberal spin.
No one likes carrots. Carrot doesn't work. You need a stick.
Exclusives like video content and opinions you won't get anywhere else.
Other media outlets are not going to cover this.
We will never get a chance like this again in our lifetimes.
Make it the first thing you read every day. SeattleRed.com. The Jason Rantz Show.
All right, let's break it down with Seattle radio host and author Jason Rantz.
Jason, if I didn't know you, my first question would be, do you make these stories up?
No, they accepted this proposal.
I guess it's a measure of how much they really don't like Trump, isn't it?
Long form.
My next guest says the way Washington picks its judges is a threat to your rights, and he's not holding back. Judge Dave Larson spent years on the bench. He's now running for the state Supreme Court on a pretty simple idea. Judges should answer to voters, not to whomever happens to be sitting in the governor's mansion. And he points out that 6 of our 9 sitting justices were handpicked by a governor, never elected by the people. And he's got a fix. He's also got some critics. Judge Dave Larson, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So let's start with the reality here of the numbers. 6 of the 9 justices on the state Supreme Court appointed by a governor, obviously Democrats, not elected by voters. So walk us through how we actually got here and why you think that's a problem versus just how the system works.
Well, I'm not sure why people wouldn't see it a problem that the people don't have a say in who their judges are when the Constitution requires judges to be elected. But this is kind of an evolution. The founders originally had it where, if there was a vacancy, the governor would appoint someone, but I don't know that they ever envisioned judges resigning before they enter the term, which allows the governor to appoint replacements without any check and balance. Unlike the federal system, there is no confirmation process. The only confirmation process is a contested election. At the time when I wrote an op-ed in 2024 in the Seattle Times, 172 of the 207 judges in our state were appointed by Governor Inslee. It'd be wrong if it was appointed by Governor Larson, too. I mean, it's undemocratic. But only less than 30 contested elections, so 140 judges are sitting on the bench without the people approving them. And in counties over 100,000 people, if that appointee doesn't get an opponent, they don't even show on the ballots. There's not even an ability to even have a write-in. So the people of this state are not have not selected their judges. And in my race in 2024, there were just under 700,000 undervotes because we don't do a very good job of educating the public on how to vote for judges. So there was 700,000 less people voted for Supreme Court than they did for governor, which makes it even more undemocratic.
Yeah, and again, no confirmation. There's no real vetting outside of whoever's running the internal vetting by the governor's office, which is, I mean, that level of vetting might just be who can we appoint who's going to side with us on every single case that gets in front of them. Who benefits from that timing exactly? Is it always going to be the Democrats at this point?
Well, it doesn't matter which political party. It'd always be the person. If the person that's appointing does a job of making sure judicial independence is protected and appoints somebody that's going to be a great justice and not somebody that either is a campaign contributor or work directly for the governor, then we're good to go. But when they appoint people that have a demonstrated allegiance to a particular political party, whether it be Republican or Democrat, it's problematic.
So you said that this governor appointed a former staffer from his own office, along with essentially someone who's a longtime campaign donor from his old law firm, neither of whom had ever been a judge. Some would say it's up to the governor to decide based on whoever's qualified. And, we can have a subjective disagreement, I suppose, on whoever is qualified. So what's your response to that? Because, again, I think there's a lot of wiggling around these stories because media generally isn't going to cover it.
Right. So I think what it comes down to is not only do we have to have confidence in the system that you have qualified people, it also has to appear to be an independent branch and not something that appears to be in the back pocket of anybody. And it would be wrong if it was a Republican, wrong if it's a Democrat. And the solution, and I've actually written a statute that would create what's called the Judicial Elections Commission, which would rate candidates. The governor, just like civil service has been forever, would pick from the top 3 rated candidates by a bipartisan commission. And therefore, the confidence that the people would have that the best qualified candidate is selected would go through the roof at that point, because they would have to go through a vetting process where Democrats and Republicans would be rating these people for their qualifications and just for their qualifications.
How do we judge the qualifications? What would be considered high qualifications?
Well, it depends on which level of court that you're going for. But for Supreme Court, it should be somebody that's had trial court experience, because you're sitting in judgment of trial judges and what mistakes they make or that they don't make. And also litigation experience, handling litigation and being involved in that would be essential. For judges, it's our ability to overcome our opinions, not what our opinions are. It's our ability to overcome our opinions and decide things based on the law and the Constitution. Obviously, judicial philosophy, those kind of things could be rated, how somebody perceives their position. And in the proposal I have, there are criteria that are laid out that would be rated on a scale of 1 to 5 by these folks. And if my dream came true, voters could also go through an exercise with candidates and apply the same rating system when they're choosing to vote for judges. And this elections commission would also be responsible for pushing information out to voters about how to vote for judges and what to look for. And so there are ways to judge judges. And it's just a matter of, certainly my proposal can be, somebody could say, well, let's do it differently, but there does need to be a change where it isn't one person. 250 years ago, there was one of the grievances was that the king got to appoint all the judges. And so we can't lose sight of the fact that in order for the judiciary to be independent, it has to be a backstop because judges are willing to stand up against the folks that put them in office if they're appointed, and not an open gate if somebody is expressed through either working for somebody or through their campaign contributions, loyalty to the person that appointed them.
But to be clear, when we're talking about these rankings essentially, or this judgment of judges, is the intent just to give more information to the voters to make a decision on their own for elections, or are you suggesting that you would have to qualify for this before you could even be appointed or run?
Well, twofold. The first and most important thing is to have a rating system that the governor could then pick from the top qualified candidates as rated by an independent body. That'd be the main priority. And so the governor, we've been doing it with civil service forever to avoid cronyism, to avoid the things in government where your friends are given positions in government. We've had civil service for ages where it's called the rule of 3. And that's where the governor would pick the selection from that rule of 3 primarily. It would secondarily be a tool for voters to use in choosing. It'd be an issue whether somebody's mandated to get a rating. I don't think that should be a requirement to run, but certainly if somebody doesn't have a rating, the voters could consider that in making a decision. But yeah, the ability to have some objective standard to judge judges instead of the current method that we have where it's where basically the reason there was 700,000 undervotes in 2024 is people don't know how to vote for judges. They don't know even what to consider.
Yeah, it's hard for someone who does know what they're supposed to look at. Just
hard for me
finding that information. Yeah,
it's hard for me.
I'm in the same boat as you are. You've picked up some support from Democrats and Republicans, but also I think the sort of Andrew Yang crowd and others, which is a little bit of an odd coalition that you're building. So why do you think that is, and what exactly is this coalition?
Well, the thing is that regardless of who supports me, my decisions will be the same. That's the point of. I think that's what they understand is that if somebody endorses somebody, it doesn't mean that that the candidate has adopted all the views of the person endorsing them. I think what people see is that I'm going to be that judge that regardless of the outcome, they're going to trust it came from the right place for the right reason, not regardless of politics, regardless of anything else. Because my attitude is that the court system, again, it needs to be, like I said, the lighthouse in the storm, not a ship lost at sea. It needs to be a constant, something people can look to as something that's steady, and that the decisions are going to be made based on the written word that's there with common sense and without any kind of political or ideological twist to it. And so I've been supported by a number of different groups, and I have in the past too, because I think there's people on the Democrat and Republican side that are starving for judges that are just going to be judges and not do things that are driven by ideology or otherwise.
If nothing changes at all, if voters kind of just shrug and then do the whole resign and appoint game, it just continues, where does Washington's judiciary end up in 10 years? I mean, make the case why someone should care about a court race they've probably never thought about, and they also maybe think the system's never going to change anyway.
Well, when I go around the state and I talk to people, sometimes when these issues come up, I ask, I don't know that you have to wait 10 years. I ask, do you trust the courts to decide cases in the way that makes sense and is beneficial for communities? And whether it's a political issue that the court's facing on some legislation, or whether somebody's released from jail or not released from jail, do you trust that the court system is going to make decisions based on the law and the Constitution? Or do you think they're going to make it based on personal ideology? And I know there's a lot of great judges, and it's not fair to them to have this reputation, but the vast majority of people don't trust our court system because of some of the issues and the appointment process. It's becoming more and more. People are being more and more aware of it, and they're more and more disgusted. Especially, like I said, when I point out that one of the grievances of the colonists was that the king got to appoint all the judges. That kind of rings for people that, yes, you've got to have an independent judiciary that's beholden to nobody, that's beholden to the law and the Constitution, and that's it, not to any one person. And I think we've allowed this to happen over the years. And my hope is that 10 years from now, we're talking about having the best selection and election process in the country for judges. That's what I want. And that's trusted.
That is my hope as well.
Yeah. And I can tell you what, nothing's going to change if nobody talks about it. And so I know that it's something that isn't because I'm running for political office or anything else. It's something I felt for. It's something 10 years in the making. I rang the alarm bell 10 years ago on this, and it's finally, I think, starting to get some traction in the sense that again, we got to look at through principle, the lens of principle rather than the lens of partisanship. And if you look through the lens of principle, then it makes sense what I'm trying to say. If you look through the lens of partisanship and one party or the other benefits, and so therefore we're not going to change it because the party in power benefits, then I think the people are the ones that are shortchanged. And again, if Washington was the opposite, where the Republicans were in charge, the principle would be the same, my feelings would be the same, and my suggestion for change would be the same, because
your principles. That's why we like you. Exactly. You are principled on this. And that's why it's so important for folks to actually don't just talk about this issue, but also support the people who share our principles, which is we should be beholden to the law and not beholden to Governor Bob Ferguson or any governor. Judge Dave Larson is running for the state Supreme Court. Make sure you get out the vote. Judge Larson, thank you so much for stopping by. Appreciate it.
I appreciate it. You're
listening to the Jason Rantz Show, broadcasting from New York. right here on Seattle Red 770 AM, online at seattlered.com.
SeattleRed.com, the only place for conservatives in Seattle.
I do believe in a homeless industrial complex.
Local perspective without the liberal spin.
If this problem goes away, all that money stops coming into their nonprofits, their NGOs.
The place Seattle conservatives can trust.
The Democrats are telegraphing.
Bookmark SeattleRed.com now for exclusive content from right here in the Pacific Northwest.
It's not complicated.
SeattleRed.com.
Is the volatility of the stock market driving you crazy? Is your retirement account sinking, yet you're getting older and you're starting to worry about, will I have enough for retirement? What about the money in the bank? These banks pay nothing these days. How do we get growth to get to retirement? It's simple. Move into gold and silver. Want to know how to do it? Listen to my show, Striking Gold, with me, Kenny Michaels.
Sundays at 11 a.m. on Seattle Red.
For over 50 years, Bucky's Complete Auto Repair has been the one locals trust for honest pricing, expert service, and guaranteed repairs. This dedication has earned them a Carfax Preferred designation. At Bucky's, every customer gets detailed Carfax updates, timely service reminders, and a full service history, all at your fingertips. With 16 family-owned locations, no appointment needed, and easy financing, Bucky's makes auto care simple. Visit Bucky's.com today and drive with confidence. Bucky's.com.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-330-8323 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-330-8323. That's 800-330-8323. What do you have to lose? Call 800-330-8323. Again, 800-330-8323.
We know what it's like being a Seattle conservative.
You're free to make the choices all you want, but you're not free from those consequences.
It's the reason we created SeattleRed.com.
You know what we're going to do? Carrot and stick.
Local news without the liberal spin.
No one likes carrots. Carrot doesn't work. You need a stick.
Exclusives like video content and opinions you won't get anywhere else.
Other media outlets are not going to cover this.
We will never get a chance like this again in our lifetimes.
Make it the first thing you read every day. SeattleRed.com.
You've been thinking about it. The new deck, the updated bathroom, new flooring. You've imagined how great it's going to look. What you haven't been looking forward to is managing the project, getting estimates, coordinating contractors, following up on schedules. With Dwell One, you don't have to. We handle your project from start to finish, bringing together the right professionals, managing the details, and keeping everything on track. You focus on enjoying the result. We'll handle the rest. Dwell One. Your home, one call. Dwell1.com.
The Jason Rantz Show.
Bring in Jason Rantz, Seattle Red 770 AM host, and also SeattleRed.com. Jason, great to have you with us.
Jason, Seattle is just continually ground zero.
Yeah, and this is really the Pacific Northwest is ground zero for all this nonsense.
USA Today is mocking the far left.
The quick hit.
I want to try to get to a couple of stories, neither of which are actually related to one another, but there is this demand from Democrats and frankly some Republicans that Mitch McConnell provide some sort of proof of life, as it were. Several weeks ago, he was found apparently unresponsive and he had some sort of cardiac issue. It sounds like he had a heart attack, although we're not getting the specific update from his office, but he was found unconscious. They provided, again, it sounds like from some of the reporting, CPR, and he's been in a hospital ever since. Yesterday, we heard a lot of people come forward and essentially say, no, there's nothing wrong. I had a long conversation with him. We heard from John Thune and a couple of other senators. Scott Jennings from the Scott Jennings Show right here on Seattle Red, 8 to 10. He was on CNN to say he also had a phone call with McConnell, whom he used to work for. He worked in his office.
Yeah, he called me this morning before I did my radio show. We talked for about 17 minutes. He talked a lot about the situation with Iran, talked a little bit about Ukraine and what's going on in Europe. I told him I'd been to the Teddy Roosevelt Library. We talked a little bit about the history of the vice presidency and how Roosevelt had transformed that in the modern presidency, a little history of the Senate. I mean, it was a wide-ranging conversation. I talked to him often. I hadn't talked to him since he'd been in. I'd gotten a few text messages from him, but I hadn't spoken to him. So it was good to hear his voice. Voice sounded strong and sounded like he was keeping up with the news to me.
Did you ask him how he was feeling?
Yeah, he said he was feeling okay, obviously well enough to call me on the phone and obviously well enough to talk to Barrasso and Thune. Now, look, I'm not qualified to discuss any medical issues or give you any information about that. That's really for him or his staff to do. But, I talk to him from time to time, and I see him from time to time. And, we had a conversation today about the things that we normally talk about, which are news of the day, political stuff.
Now, look, I'm going to be honest, because I don't think Scott is making it up, nor do I think Thune and Barrasso are making up. I think they had conversations with him, and I have no reason to doubt that. But this is obviously coordinated, right? I mean, three people coming out and basically saying the same thing, that I had these long conversations with him to show that there's nothing wrong, while still not providing a statement saying there's nothing wrong, or here's what happened and here's his health outlook looking forward. I think that is wrong. I said this last night on CNN. This idea that you're a senator and you just kind of disappear and you're not going to be honest fully about the health issues, and you put out one statement just thanking people for their well wishes and not really telling anyone anything, the longer it goes without a statement, the more conspiracies are out there. And, we talked about this yesterday. Laura Loomer had indicated that he was brain dead, and I'm presuming that the McConnell team saw that and they wanted to dispel it, but didn't put him out there and didn't have him post some sort of video on X, which in fairness is not normally what you would expect from Mitch McConnell, but instead he had Scott Jennings and Senators Barrasso and Thune out there. I just don't think that's good enough. It's leaving an opening. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear is asking for a video directly just saying, hey, we're concerned about this. We're concerned about your health, your well-being, and really your ability to hold office. Now, there's a reason or reasons why McConnell is not being forthcoming, the same way there are reasons that Andy Beshear is pushing for this, and they're both political, at least in part. They have, and I don't remember what the date was, but they have until like August 3rd, I think. If Mitch McConnell, for example, God forbid, died or decided he was dropping out because he's not running for re-election, they could hold a special election on that date or right after that date for the cutoff. And that would mean Andy Beshear would almost certainly run for that and probably would win. He's popular in Kentucky. And, I don't know what other big name Republican who would be able to just immediately step up and win that race, even in deeply red Kentucky. And that would deliver a huge blow to the Republicans. Even if the term would be short, he would then just run as the incumbent for re-election at some point, or make it easier for a Democrat to hang on to that seat. Mitch McConnell doesn't want that to happen. He's going to retire basically in 6 months or so. He's, like I said, not running for re-election, so he's in there through January 20th. And he doesn't want to give up on that. So I think they're just trying to buy time to get to that deadline, which politically makes sense, even though I think it's the wrong thing to do. I don't know why they don't just put out a statement that says the senator had a heart attack or whatever it happened to be, and he's doing better now. He's still in rough shape. Maybe I kind of speculated last night on CNN that if it was in fact a heart attack or something very serious, which it sounds like it was very serious, he might have had a tube down his throat, and that could make it very rough for you to communicate. Even if Scott Jennings and others want to say he sounded relatively fine, his voice was strong, you might even be self-conscious, and he doesn't want to be filmed in that way. The other issue, and I'm certainly sympathetic to this because as someone who's 29 for 15 years, I'm thinking more about my age and how I will be dead soon. Like I've lived probably about half my life, and at 8, I think he's 84 years old. You don't necessarily want to think about that. And this is forcing you to think about that. This is not his first medical issue that has become news. I do think ultimately the voters have a right to know what's going on with him, and pushing all politics aside, because obviously I don't want Andy Beshear to be the senator from Kentucky. I don't want to give up any kind of power to these people, but I do think it's the right thing to say something. I'm understanding of his position, but I do ultimately think the right thing to do is to be open and upfront. Politically, right now, him not voting, we don't have anything that requires his vote that's pending. So from a political Republican perspective, I'm not all that concerned. And, again, we're kind of at that point where he's not needed as urgently on the Senate side of things. We had that one vote on Iran that did not go the way of the president because of Mitch McConnell's absence, but it became moot the moment the vote took place because we got into that ceasefire. So again, I don't know how this is going to end. I wish they would just be a little bit more forthcoming. And even, again, just putting out a timeline. You don't need like a proof of life video or something. Just put out a timeline of when you expect he'll be back in action and what happened. And I think most people are not going to, run at this guy. It's different with a senator than it is a member of the House who represents one very specific district, and that's the only representation you get on the House side of things. In the Senate, you have 2 senators from every single state. So you've got Rand Paul, who for the most part is taking exactly the same votes as Mitch McConnell. The whole Democrats saying, oh no, we demand that we have Mitch McConnell vote on our behalf. You don't want him voting on your behalf. He's not going to vote on your behalf. He doesn't take votes that you want. Every so often, I guess there's some sort of an alignment, but that's about it. So just stop the nonsense. I guess it turns out I didn't have time to do 2 stories that were unrelated. We'll do it tomorrow. Again, we've got the big announcement. If you missed it in the last hour, we're going to do it again at the top of the next hour, telling you why I've extended my trip. It was planned. Extended my trip here in New York. Going to be doing something pretty cool on Friday. We'll explain. And for those of you who are looking for something to watch tonight at 7, I'll be on News Nation with Katie Pavlich. Tomorrow at 2 Pacific Standard Time, I'll be on Fox Business with the evening edit. And if you missed me this morning on Varney and Company, we've got some clips up online at our social media channels. You're listening to The Jason Rantz Show.
SeattleRed.com, the only place for conservatives in Seattle.
I do believe in a homeless industrial complex.
Local perspective without the liberal spin.
If this problem goes away, all that money stops coming into their nonprofits, their NGOs.
The place Seattle conservatives can trust.
The Democrats are telegraphing.
Bookmark SeattleRed.com now for exclusive content from right here in the Pacific Northwest.
It's not complicated.
SeattleRed.com.
Hi, I'm Dr. Shelley Flace with today's tip for kids from the American Academy of Pediatrics. Kids are full of energy, but keeping them active in their teen years can be a challenge. Aim for an hour of physical activity every day. If they like sports, that's a great place to start. Keep the focus on fun, not winning, and encourage your child to do a variety of activities. If your child isn't meeting that 60-minute goal, gradually increase their activity in ways they enjoy. For more, talk with your pediatrician or visit healthychildren.org.
This is the story of the one who keeps multiple buildings running smoothly day after day. Plumbing that flows, HVAC that hums, cleaning supplies that keep surfaces sparkling. That's why she counts on Grainger. With easy reordering online and 24/7 support, Grainger helps her keep the products she needs on hand. So shelves stay stocked and buildings stay ready. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Your coffee would never get cold. Your flight would always be on time. And your mattress would always respond to you and your unique sleep needs. Sleep Number mattresses are designed to respond to your body and shift with your changing life, helping you fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good life sleep.
Well, it's official. My friends have all switched to Pure Talk because I told them they could save a bunch of money on a super reliable high-speed network with unlimited data. And because they're my friends, they trust me. As for the rest of you, well, Pure Talk understands that even though you might like me, you're not just going to take my word for it, nor should you. For that reason, and for a very limited time, Pure Talk is offering any of their plans for just $15 a month for the first 3 months, including their top-tier unlimited plan that normally sells for $65 a month. Think of it like a test drive, a super simple way to save $150 while you kick the tires on Pure Talk's blazing fast network, and a fine way to see for yourself why I switched from big wireless, along with a few 100,000 of my closest friends. Dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe, and be connected to Pure Talk's friendly U.S. customer service team. Again, dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe, and let the savings begin.
John Curley here. When the AC starts acting up, your first thought is, oh my gosh, I need a whole new system. What's that going to cost me? Hold on, don't panic. The best thing to do is call Home Comfort Alliance. Their approach is so simple. They repair first, replace only if needed. Their technicians diagnose the real problem before recommending anything, because a worn-out part or a simple fix can often get your cooling back up and running without the cost and time of a full replacement. And if you need something new, ask about a heat pump for year-round comfort. That's what we did at the barn. Smart move. Keeps you cool in the summer and warm when winter comes around, all in one system. To find out the cost either way, don't wait on hold or guess. Just head to homecomfortalliance.com and get real pricing in under 60 seconds. No pressure, no guesswork, just honest answers from people that have been doing this for almost 50 years. For heating, cooling, plumbing, or electrical, do what we did. Call the comfort people. homecomfortalliance.com. That's homecomfortalliance.com.
Progressive Insurance. Progressive can protect your home, auto, boat, motorcycle, ATV, RV, and more. In short, a lot of things. Bundle today at progressive.com.
We know what it's like being a Seattle conservative.
Other media outlets are not going to cover this.
It's the reason we created SeattleRed.com.
We will never get a chance like this again in our lifetimes.
Exclusives like video content and opinions you won't get anywhere else.
Analysis through the lens of America First.
SeattleRed.com. Seattle Red on 770 KTTH Seattle, 97.3 KIRO FM, HD3 Tacoma Seattle, 94.5 K233 DT Eastlake, 33 BU Seattle.
Breaking news coverage from Fox News Radio.
This is a Fox News alert. I'm Jessica Rosenthal. Earlier this week, President Trump sent out a Truth Social post announcing a plan to address the nation tonight from the White House. This, of course, prompted speculation regarding the topic, and he's clarified throughout the week, including Tuesday during a White House meeting with Iraq's prime minister, that he will be announcing really big news, as he put it, that what he plans to talk about doesn't get any bigger because without free and fair elections, you don't have a country. The speech was a hot topic at the White House briefing today with White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. Fox News Radio's Jared Halpern was at that briefing. Jared?
Yeah, Caroline Leavitt would not offer specifics other than to say the president's message is about protecting the integrity of elections.
It will shock you if you have an honest eye listening to the president tonight, and everything he is saying will be backed by facts and by evidence.
Democrats warn President Trump is setting the stage to sow doubt in the results of the upcoming midterms. It is an accusation Leavitt dismissed, instead urging all Americans to listen first to the speech. Jess.
We know the goal of the president has been to get the Save America Act passed. In fact, he has pushed off signing legislation and tried to delay a confirmation hearing over the act's passage. If this act became law, it would require proof of citizenship in order to register to vote. The president has repeatedly. Let's go now to the president in the East Room at the White House.
Before we begin, I'm proud to report that our country is safer, stronger, and far wealthier than it has ever been before. We are doing great. Less than 2 years ago, we inherited an economic and social disaster. After the worst inflation in 48 years, the wide open borders with millions and millions of people pouring in from all over the world, including criminals of all types, and 11,888 murders, many of whom killed more than one person. We had transgender for everybody, men and women's sports, crime ravaging our cities, and the whole world was laughing at us as a nation, but not anymore. 2 years ago, our country was dead. Now we are the hottest country anywhere in the world. America is respected like we have never been respected before. We have more money being invested in the United States than at any time in the history of our country. More Americans are working today than ever before. This week, it was announced that inflation saw the largest monthly decline in more than 6 years. Just happened. It was just given out. The media reported it, and we accept it. The best in 6 years. The tax cuts in our great, big, beautiful bill are saving hardworking families thousands and thousands of dollars, like with the provisions, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors, along with the interest deduction on a loan used to purchase a car, but only if that car is made in America, and a 100% expensing for our job-creating businesses. Our stock markets are at their highest point in many years, but we can actually say of all time. And your 401ks, pensions, and retirement accounts are setting records every single day, the highest in history. For years, we paid the highest price for prescription drugs anywhere in the world. Now we pay the lowest price under my most favored nation's policy, because I was able to get the rest of the world and the pharmaceutical companies to act responsibly. Drug prices are coming down by 70, 80, and 90%. TrumpRx.gov, this will ultimately reduce the cost of health care. You have to go to TrumpRx.gov and take advantage of it. But the cost of health care is coming way down because of what we've done with prescription drugs. And with Trump accounts, every child in America now has access to a tax-free investment account to save for their future. Billions and billions of dollars are being invested, put in by companies and individuals to take care of our children so that at age 18, they will have potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars in their account, and they'll get off to a great start in life. So for that, go to TrumpAccounts.gov and sign up your child or any child who'd like to sign up. Our previously wide open borders have been transformed into the most secure borders in the history of our country, with 0 illegal aliens being admitted to the United States in the past 14 months. That is 0. Nobody thought it was possible. We had the worst border in the history of our country, and now we have the best. Crime is plummeting nationwide, with the murder rate at its lowest level since 1900, or more than 125 years ago. We're making a record investment in our armed forces, and we have the strongest and most powerful military by far anywhere in the world. I built it during my first term, and unfortunately, we're forced to use it now. We won in Venezuela, which is now working with us to produce millions and millions of barrels of oil. We are likewise winning big in Iran, and you will see the fruits of that labor very, very shortly. America is back and doing really well, but we still have a major challenge that must be urgently addressed, because no country can be great without fair and honest elections. You have to trust your country, because if there can be no trust, there can be no greatness. And that's very simple. No trust, no greatness. For many years, I've called for bold, swift, and decisive action to protect the integrity of America's elections. Every American deserves to know that when they cast their vote, that vote will be counted accurately in a system, and that is to make that system secure, one where cheating and interference are not just difficult, but virtually impossible. Unfortunately, the system we have today falls catastrophically short of that standard. Tonight, I'm announcing the immediate declassification and release of critical intelligence revealing shocking vulnerabilities in our election infrastructure. This evidence shows that the election system we have dangerously exposes, and really exposes like levels never thought possible, to hacking, exploitation, and foreign interference. Just as disturbingly, this vital information has for many years been covered up and hidden from you, the American people, our beautiful, our great American people. But that all changes right now. The documents we will release starting tonight have been gathered by the White House Government Transparency Task Force, a great group of people, along with the staff of the President's Intelligence Advisory Board, supported by our top intelligence agency chiefs, who have all personally reviewed the findings. We are presenting this evening and fully confirmed their authenticity. You can see these documents for yourself at whitehouse.gov. That's whitehouse.gov. Go check it out. Our purpose in disclosing this information is not to weaken confidence in election, but to earn that confidence by confronting vulnerabilities and correcting them very, very quickly. And that's what we're doing. The documents cover 5 major areas of concern. First, they show that over a period of years, starting during the 2020 election cycle, the People's Republic of China carried out what is believed to be the largest compromise of election data in history, resulting in China's illicit acquisition of 220 million U.S. voter files. That information includes names, addresses, phone numbers, political party preferences, and other sensitive data that would be needed to register to vote and engage in other nefarious activities, which is exactly what was happening. This data loss presents an unprecedented election security nightmare. The intelligence even shows that China assigned a data exploitation unit specifically to this new project. Compounding the travesty, the second set of documents we are releasing reveals that members of the deep state, very, very famous group of people, in many cases, in our intelligence agency work to actively suppress and downplay information about the extent of China's sinister election meddling, covering it up from both the president and the American people like nobody thought was possible. U.S. spy agencies began learning about the compromise of voter registration files in 2020 when they discovered that tens of millions of voter data, think of that, tens of millions of voters' data in 18 states have been bought, stolen, or hacked by China. Yet those responsible for sounding the alarm instead kept the information secret and hidden. They did not disclose to me as president or to anyone else, and to the best of our knowledge, they did not inform Congress. In fact, all they kept saying is, this is the most secure election in the history of our country, a standard, very pat line that was divvied out to say. The cover-up of this colossal security breach is even more disturbing in light of the additional information showing that China engaged in other election-related activities to undermine my first administration and our 2020 campaign. They did not want, and they just didn't want it. They fought like hell not to have it, Donald Trump, to win, and for good reason. As the documents we are releasing show, CIA reporting explicitly stated, and I quote, in mid-2018, the Chinese Communist Party's policy was to leverage all domestic and foreign elements that were opposed to the U.S. president in an effort to reduce the U.S. president's votes and make him resign or prevent his re-election. Isn't that nice? Also, in mid-2018, China was working to influence the results of the U.S. midterm elections and later the results of the 2020 presidential election itself. Separately, in mid-2019, the Chinese government's strategy against the United States was focused on undermining domestic confidence in the U.S. president. They wanted to just make you sound like your president wasn't so hot, when actually your president has done a great job. And they did everything possible to do exactly that. Going on, this document says, and this is by the CIA, The strategy included efforts to use Chinese contacts with big U.S. companies to influence U.S. business leaders to turn against the President of the United States of America. The Chinese government sought to identify U.S. journalists who had reported negatively on the U.S. president and pay them large sums of money to write more negative articles about him, as many as they could, and they didn't care what they said. The Chinese government wanted U.S. president to lose the next election, and the reason they wanted me to lose is because they knew I was wise to them, charged them billions and billions of dollars worth of tariffs, and built the strongest military anywhere in the world. We have the strongest military anywhere in the world. These are exact quotes from the CIA reporting. The name of the person doing the quote is now under review, but it gets even worse. Raw intelligence obtained by the FBI in 2020, yet buried by rogue bureaucrats, stated that China's activities even included an attempt to manufacture illegal ballots for Joe Biden. Documents show that during this period, dozens of significant CIA and NSA reports about China's election targeting were kept out of the presidential briefing. These were briefings I would get almost every day. Everything was kept out that was of importance. One email among intelligence analysts admitted that they had, quote, deliberately massaged the presidential daily briefing to withhold information regarding Chinese activities related to the election. Another official inside the FBI wrote that she was running, quote, a shadow government, unquote, to keep intelligence about China's election meddling from becoming known and to keep it away from the honorable press. Other officials who witnessed such efforts perceived the motivations to be blatantly political. Recently, we found significant numbers of burn bags in formation, and this is a group of bags that were used to destroy information given by President Barack Hussein Obama to be burned. It was supposed to be burned. These bags were supposed to be at a different level by different people, incinerated and checked, but it never happened. Maybe we got lucky. We believe this was not done on purpose, but rather through gross incompetence of the people that were supposed to burn the bags. But the findings are stunning. Today, I'm asking the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, the Department of Justice, the FBI, and the CIA to investigate how and why such crucial information was hidden, to fire those involved in the cover-up, and to file criminal charges, if appropriate, against these people. Yet concealing China's meddling was only the beginning. The third set of documents we are releasing proves that for many years, Americans were blatantly lied to about the security of our election infrastructure, including electronic voting machines and ballot counting systems. Dishonest, almost all. They're vulnerable and they're easily compromised, and people within our government knew that. Tonight, we're publishing a series of previously classified U.S. intelligence community assessments and other reports proving that our government has long known these machines are extremely exposed to attack. As one assessment states, we judge that the United States adversaries, including at a minimum Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, as well as non-state groups, have the capability to compromise U.S. election infrastructure. That's unquote, but that's some statement, isn't it? Made by supposedly great patriots of our country. The document goes on to further state that, quote, we assess that centralized election-related data repositories, such as voter registration databases, poll books, and other official election websites, are most vulnerable to exploitation, and adversaries could use this access to these systems to disrupt election processes within the United States of America. Tonight, we're releasing all of those findings, and spanning from January 2020 to June 2026, This is a cyber threat aimed at the very heart of our democracy. Many people have questioned whether it could actually be possible to electronically manipulate vote totals or change election results on these terrible machines. Today, we are releasing documents that show the CIA obtained reporting of a specific plot to do a big number in favor of the corrupt Maduro regime in Venezuela. And that's exactly what happened, conspiring to digitally rig their own country's elections in 2020, and that's what they did. This reporting included precise details about methods to regime develop to digitally alter vote totals in ways that could not be detected even with an audit, no matter how deep they went. This intelligence underscores why we must take urgent action to ensure that our own system can never, ever be hacked or compromised like it was in the past. The fourth set of documents reveals that even when significant evidence of fraud has been detected, it has been buried and covered up. Among the disclosures tonight are FBI files detailing evidence of alleged fraud by a large-scale voter registration operation in Michigan. In 2020, Michigan State Police raided a Democrat Get Out the Vote organization, corrupt group in Muskegon. And we're so concerned by what they found. They were just so concerned. They couldn't believe it, actually, that they contacted the FBI in Detroit. The documents state that some canvassers admitted to FBI agents that they signed voter registration forms in other people's names, submitted fraudulent registration for people who did not exist, and received gift cards tied to their number of applications that they produced. In other words, it was pay, play, and cheat. The FBI agents working on the case believe that crimes were committed, yet the Biden Department of Justice slow-walked the investigation and killed it. Tonight, I'm asking the FBI director to ensure that the matter is fully investigated and to work with the Department of Justice to prosecute those responsible for any crimes. Finally, to reveal just how vulnerable our elections continue to be, we are releasing the results of a stunning investigation by the Department of Homeland Security. According to the DHS review, state voter rolls and public records, they identified approximately 278,000 non-citizens who are registered to vote in federal elections. Since Democrat states refuse to share their voter files, the real number is actually much higher than that. Yet, even this limited analysis found more than 250,000 foreigners illegally registered to vote. Put together, these disclosures reveal an election system so broken and so vulnerable that no one can possibly defend it. It is not defensible. Hundreds of millions of U.S. voter files are in the hands of foreign governments. Our machines and ballot counting systems are exposed to hacking and manipulation and corruption. China and other countries have been trying to meddle in our elections. Evidence of fraud has been buried. Hundreds of thousands of non-citizens and dead people are listed and active on the voter rolls. And yet we still have elections with no voter ID, no proof of citizenship, and tens of millions of ballots floating aimlessly through the mail. As one example of the insanity, California's recent election for mayor of LA and governor was held on June 2nd, a long time ago, but it was just completed a few days ago on July 10th. Think of that, much more than 1 month. Took a month to count the votes. I wonder what they were doing. This is worse than any third world country. There's no third world country that has elections like we have. In a rare move, NBC and ABC Fake News have both said that they would not cover this speech. They knew what it was about because of the fact that they don't like the topic, because they know how corrupt our system is and they don't want to reveal it. They and others in the media are part of a plot. They want to continue this fraud for whatever reason. They want to keep it going. They want to protect the radical left. They can't have a great country, and that's true. You can't have a great country without free and fair elections. Fraud like this should mean a revocation of their licenses. They use our public multi-billion-dollar in value airways for absolutely no money. They pay nothing. All we want is honesty in our elections and honesty in reporting. They pay nothing for multi-billion-dollar assets. Great damage has been done to our country. Our elections were left vulnerable to being rigged and stolen, and the trust of the American people was lost. This cannot be allowed to continue. Every American, whether you're a Republican, Democrat, Independent, or otherwise, should be able to agree that we deserve the most secure, honest, and fair election system anywhere in the world. Secure elections should be a partisan, really, we should be together, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, everybody. And it should not be a partisan issue. It should cause to unite us, not to divide us. This should be a cause. We should be united, not divided. In light of the brand new and irrefutable information I have revealed tonight, my administration is in the process of notifying the states whose election data was compromised by the People's Republic of China and many others. We will be working closely to mitigate any harm, and we're taking swift action to ensure that sensitive voter data is better protected so we can never be bought, we can never be hacked, and we can never watch a stolen election again. Tomorrow, the Secretary of Homeland Security will hold a briefing to outline his department's recent work confirming cyber vulnerabilities in our electronic voting systems. They are bad. We're in the process of informing governors, senators, and members of Congress of potential issues in their states. If you look at voting today, it's in such bad shape in so many states, and we are committing to fix it. And we're also committing to be working with those states and local jurisdictions to help them fix and patch known technical vulnerabilities before the midterm elections. We have very important elections coming up. We want those elections to be honest. I've also ordered DHS to notify every state about non-citizens on their voter rolls and direct them to remove all ineligible voters from the lists immediately. But most importantly, addressing this crisis of election security demands that Congress must pass the Save America Act. How easy is that to do unless you want to cheat? The only reason you wouldn't do it is you want to cheat because your policies are so bad and your candidates are so pathetic that you can't get away or can't get elected any other way. This landmark bill requires that all voters must show photo voter ID. How simple is that? Could I have your photo, please? Photo voter ID. All voters must provide proof of citizenship. Are you a citizen of our country, please? And hopefully there will be no corrupt mail-in ballots, which if you watched California and so many other places, mail-in ballots are inherently corrupt. So you would have no mail-in ballots except for illness, disability, military deployment, or travel if you're going away on business or vacation. These reforms are urgently needed to stop the vulnerabilities that I've mentioned. To all Americans, I ask you to pick up your phone tomorrow, call your representatives in the House and Senate, and demand that they pass the Save America Act without delay. Together, we will restore faith and confidence in our country, and we will be bigger, better, and stronger than ever before. Thank you. God bless you. God bless our great military, and God bless America. Thank you very much.
You've been listening to President Trump's address to the nation from the White House here on Fox News Radio. The president put forth several new claims about the 2020 election, but also the state of our current election system and what he says are its many vulnerabilities. We'll go through some of those. Now I'm joined by my colleague, Fox News Radio's White House correspondent, Jared Halpern. Jared, it sounds like there was a litany of claims being made, but initially starting off with a breach regarding voter registration data that he said was perpetrated by the People's Republic of China ahead of the 2020 election. He led with that, but then said that there was an effort following that to essentially, among our intelligence agents, to hide that information, to not discuss that information about what China was up to. What do we know about what was said at the time back in 2021? There was a big intelligence report released back then.
Yeah, so let's kind of back up a little bit. I think that's good. What the president outlined tonight and kind of the big takeaway from that first claim is that China was able to acquire the U.S. voter files of 220 million Americans, information that would include names, addresses, phone numbers, political party preferences, and other sensitive data that would be needed to register to vote and engage in other nefarious activities. Now, one note, many states make that information public already. You can search state voter roll databases online, for instance, in a number of states and see an awful lot of that information. Now, at the time, you're right. During in the aftermath of the 2020 election, there were assessments about what it is that China was up to. And at that time, what the director of national intelligence not to deploy those tactics. What we heard from President Trump tonight is that there is intelligence that suggests China did deploy those tactics. What was left unsaid was maybe how successful that was. But the president's point is that the ability for a country like China or Russia or a non-state actor to get these U.S. voting data files is alarming in and of itself. And then your point, he says that members, in his words, of the deep state work to suppress and downplay information about the extent of China's sinister election meddling. We should also note that, remember that in the aftermath of the 2020 election, President Trump remained president, right, for a few months between November and January. A lot of these assessments were being done by his administration, by people in the Director of National Intelligence, in the CIA, working in his administration at the time.
And we should also remember at that time, COVID was rampant. There was a lot of questions regarding Chinese cooperation into that investigation and a lot of discussion following the implementation of tariffs, which the president referenced there this evening. Yes. He said he's asking the DNI, DOJ, FBI, and CIA to investigate how and why such information was hidden and file charges. So it sounds like not only is he revealing all of these documents on the White House website, but he is demanding some sort of action from all of this. He also said that they are notifying 18 states, I believe was the number he said, of those states that did have data compromised by the People's Republic.
Going to say that there had been a lot of reporting that the president was essentially going to try and relitigate the 2020 election. And what we had heard in some of that pushback is that the president is interested in protecting future elections. Now, Democrats have said that what the president is interested in doing is sowing doubt into the upcoming midterms, in which Democrats are favored to perform quite well. But you're right. The issue right now is that states, as the Constitution prescribes, states are in charge largely of elections. So if you have security vulnerabilities in a number of states, it would be up to the federal government to warn or issue some sort of memorandum to those states. And then those states try and figure out within their systems, because every state system is different, how to fix those vulnerabilities. Those actions have also been going on, by the way, for years during the Biden administration, during the first Trump administration, during the Obama administration, concerns about these types of cybersecurity attacks and what sort of vulnerabilities could be exposed by China, by Russia, by other nefarious actors who would have an interest in trying to sway public opinion in the results of U.S. elections.
We also heard from the president about the vulnerability, to your point, about actual, in his mind, in his words, voting equipment, voting machines that he says we've been told for years are safe, air-gapped, inaccessible, and called for urgent action to protect our own machines, referencing Venezuela, saying that the CIA has information that there was a plot to do what he called, quote, a big number in favor of Maduro in Venezuela, that they rigged their elections, and that should be of concern to us. Domestically, he reminded of an investigation in Michigan, the investigation of a raid and of a vote, get out the vote location that he says was so alarming that whatever was found, the FBI was contacted over allegations about registration forms, people who get paid to sign to sign people up, right? That they're motivated by that and they end up submitting false registration forms. I think we've heard about that for some time. I think that at the very end, though, was of note. The president ended with saying that Homeland Security has identified 278,000 non-citizens registered to vote in federal elections. It sounds like we're going to hear more about this tomorrow from DHS.
Yeah.
Right, suspected. And this is, and you can talk to this,
and
Jared.
There have been cases, and I say suspected only for this reason. There have been cases, certainly, of misidentifying people. The names on the voter registration roll and maybe on another document don't match, or they have moved from one jurisdiction to another. So you often hear about states purging their voter rolls, right? And a lot of times that gets a negative connotation and a negative narrative. But what states often try and do is make sure that the information on voter rolls matches the individuals who were registering to vote. So not to say that there are not non-citizens that have been registered, certainly, but that one of the things that have come up as states do these investigations is that sometimes information doesn't match. Also important to remember that in a handful of jurisdictions, non-citizens are allowed to vote in non-federal elections. There are jurisdictions.
Although that is a very small amount. There
are jurisdictions in states that allow non-citizen residents, legal immigrants who are living in a jurisdiction to vote in municipal elections.
Right. Non-federal elections. I know in San Francisco, for example, you can go and vote in the school board elections. We know in Maryland and Vermont, there are some municipal elections, non-federal elections that people are allowed to participate in. We're going to get to the root of all of this being the Save America Act. That's what the president really was pushing for and wants to get passed. But I do want to reference for our listeners, there was some reporting about any sort of Chinese meddling, and it was done earlier this year. And the reporter on this story got a quote from the Chinese embassy, and the spokesperson for the Chinese embassy disputed any meddling on China's behalf and said, on the issue of the U.S. election, China's position has always been consistent and clear. The U.S. presidential election and related personnel appointments are internal affairs of the United States. We have no intention and will not interfere. So I just wanted to share that with our listeners. I'm sure we will be hearing or seeing something from China's foreign minister at some point.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that brings up a good point, Jess, because there has, and I think this goes back even to kind of the investigations into Russia in 2016, right? We use these words, meddling, interference. Mm-hmm. Those generally are, in the intelligence community, believed to be efforts to sway opinion, sow discord through social media bots and things like that, and not like the physical changing of votes, right? And so that, again, is something that the Intelligence Committee has said intelligence agencies, the intelligence community have long said have been going on, right? Countries try and do what they can to disrupt.
They lurk
Yeah. And so the idea that China, again, would be trying to do that would not come as news or surprise to a lot of these intelligence officials who have been covering these types of threats. Obviously, the size and scope here is what the president is pointing to, and that is, I think, what Caroline Leavitt was describing when she said in the briefing this afternoon that this would be shocking to Americans, that more than 200 million voter files were breached and potentially hacked by the Chinese government.
Right, and of course that is of course shocking. We don't want any data, especially from our election systems, to be breached. We have enough. I don't know about you, but I get enough notifications from different companies that they've had breaches. The last thing you want is a breach from your bank, or let alone from your voter rolls. Yeah. Let's talk more about the Save America Act on the flip side of listening to the Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. He had basically a pre-buttal speech to what the president was going to say tonight. Let's play that for our listeners now.
Tonight, you will hear from a weak, flailing Donald Trump with a deeply unpopular agenda who knows he is destined for a resounding defeat in November. What is his response to his impending reckoning? To pull out every stop to cheat, to undermine the right to vote, rig the midterm elections in his favor, knowing massive losses are otherwise inevitable. Trump won't expose anything of substance about 2020. He'll just echo the same stale, baseless, pathetic lies he's repeated for 6 years. So we must be clear-eyed. This is about laying groundwork to undermine the 2026 election before a single vote has been cast. An election that will bring accountability for the higher costs, the endless legal wars costing over $100 billion taxpayer dollars, and rampant corruption that he has unleashed on the American people. Trump knows he can't defend Republicans' disastrous record, so he's trying to discredit the voters who will judge it in November. The reasons his numbers are so low is because he's obsessed with like this instead of what Americans actually care about. Instead of confronting persistent inflation, rising gas prices, higher grocery bills, and out-of-control housing costs, Trump and the GOP will launch a coordinated, multi-front campaign to subvert the will of the voters. They will apply endless pressure to pass the so-called SAVE Act, the most devious voter suppression legislation in modern history, aimed at disenfranchising tens of millions of American citizens. I say to Donald Trump, when it comes to the SAVE Act, the courts have rejected it, Congress has rejected it, even members of your own party have rejected it. So give it up. The SAVE Act ain't going anywhere. We live in the United States of America, where voters choose their leaders. Leaders do not choose their voters. Senate Democrats will fight like hell to preserve that principle and make sure our elections belong to the voters, not to Donald Trump. That's our sworn promise. And no matter what Trump says tonight, no matter how hard he tries to avoid the will of the American people, he will not be able to escape the inevitable. Resounding defeat in November and his coronation as a lame duck president.
That was Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer earlier today ahead of the president's speech, joined by Fox News Radio's Jared Halpern. Jared, what have we heard from Democrats ahead of this speech tonight from the president? Has it been largely what the Senate Minority Leader just said there, casting doubt on 2026 midterms?
Yeah, a lot of Democrats are saying, listen, this is the president trying to lay the groundwork to complain about the outcome of what will happen in November. We have also seen, particularly from Democrats in the Senate who sit on those intelligence committees, them kind of over the last several hours pushing out to reporters all of these intelligence assessments and bipartisan reports that were done about the 2020 election, noting that concerns about China and Russia and these types of attempts to hack into voter databases is not new, that it has been looked at by the Intelligence Committee and that they have discounted that any steps were taken that were actually successful. Obviously, what President Trump has presented tonight would not be included in that reporting because the president just declassified this and as part of his presentation said that this was being hidden from the highest offices in the land, including the Oval Office. And that is part of what the president laid out today as well. I will say that ahead of this speech, there were some Republicans as well, Jess, who expressed some trepidation, not wanting to relitigate 2020, concerned that the focus needs to be on November, on the economy, on these issues that people are going to the ballot about and not believing that sort of looking backwards is a winning strategy. Obviously, everybody who is up for re-election has to run their own race. They are running different races in different states and different congressional districts. But it was notable that a few Republicans actually did publicly come forward and say, maybe we shouldn't be focusing so much on this. We should be focusing on this other stuff. Caroline Leavitt, by the way, was asked about that at the briefing today and said, listen, the president can do a lot of things at one time. He is going to talk about election security. That is important, but that doesn't mean that he's not thinking about Iran, doesn't mean that he's not thinking about the economy. And it is notable that President Trump addressed both of those issues as well in the remarks he gave that lasted about 24 minutes this evening.
Do you think, Jared, I mean, we'll follow up with the Fox News Rundown podcast and try and get as many people as we can on to get their reaction to this. But do you think it's possible that upon review of some of these documents that are being declassified, because we're not just going off the president's word, right? There are documents.
It's a lot, by the way. They're all on the White House website, and there's hundreds of pages.
And do you think it's possible any minds will be changed, that people will actually be a little bit concerned about some of this? Maybe even some Democrats.
It's a good question. Listen, I think that's a good question. I don't think. I'll say two things. One, I do not believe that this is going to change the environment in which the Save America Act is kind of being presented to the Senate, if that makes sense, right? It's still going to need 60 votes. There doesn't seem to be an appetite amongst Senate Republicans to alter the filibuster in a way to lower that threshold to 50 votes. There are Republicans that do have concerns with elements of the Save America Act, particularly the limits and new restrictions on mail-in balloting. That is a very popular way to vote in especially more rural states. You've heard that from the Alaska senators, right? So I don't know if it changes enough hearts and minds. I think it does change maybe some of the pressure campaigns that have been underway. I will also say this, even if the Save America Act were to be passed today, what I have heard from a lot of elections officials is that it would be almost impossible to have it implemented before voting begins in the midterm elections. States have already had primary elections. A lot of the ballot request and registration deadlines are fast approaching if they have not already. And so the idea that the Save America Act, I've been told, would have much of an impact on 2026 is very unlikely.
And actually, Vice President Vance was asked about that Wednesday when he was with Speaker Johnson after meeting with several House Republicans. And Vice President Vance said that this is for the long haul. Like, even if this doesn't apply to 2026, it sounded as if there was some acceptance of that reality, that the timing is what it is, but that they were looking further ahead. I want to read for our listeners this release from the CIA Director, John Ratcliffe. He wrote, "To support President Trump's transparency initiatives, the CIA has taken significant steps, including providing declassified documents for public release. Protecting our democracy and the integrity of our elections from foreign influence and interference remains paramount. This is why we produced key intelligence reporting showing that Venezuela's government had developed capabilities to manipulate electronic voting systems, raising concerns for U.S. election infrastructure security." He writes, "I've long publicly highlighted China's nefarious efforts to influence the 2020 election against President Trump, as evidenced by my dissent to the flawed January 2021 intelligence community assessment that we were speaking about earlier." Just to share with you a little bit from the CIA, as they are apparently being tasked with declassifying and releasing these documents. Let's talk, Jared, though, about the Save America Act. And I want to play for our listeners now a bit from Speaker Johnson, who said they were working to get a budget resolution through the Budget Committee. They did that today along party lines. This is the beginning of a very long process, but let's play Speaker Johnson now.
There is nothing in this bill that every Republican in Congress cannot proudly get behind. I would say that Republicans support election integrity, our troops, and, of course, our farmers, and this vehicle will demonstrate all of that.
He said they wanted the Senate to approve of it before this August recess. Jared, we're hearing a lot of skepticism.
Well, that's not going to happen.
Right. Well, but I want to ask you about. But I want to ask you about the
Senate's not going to work that fast. I've covered the Senate a long time.
Yeah, right. But talk to me about, because like we have some of the fiscal hawks like Rick Scott saying, how is this going to get paid for? And then you have people like Susan Collins of Maine saying, no, let's do this through normal appropriations. This isn't the right way. What is the reaction even among some Republicans? What do they want out of this?
Well, Susan Collins is the Appropriations Committee chair, so she certainly is going to want what we call regular order. Listen, what they are trying to do is, this is something that both parties have done with success. In fact, it is how the One Big Beautiful Bill passed. It is how that major DHS funding bill passed earlier this year. You'd use a budget reconciliation measure, which lowers the threshold in the Senate to just a simple majority to get something passed. But it comes with a lot of conditions in the Senate. It is called the Byrd Rule. Things have to be very fiscal in nature. It can only add to the deficit X amount. And there are a lot of other kind of rules that you have to play by to limit basically the type of legislation that can get around the filibuster. So even if the House were to pass this budget resolution that had the Save America Act in it, it's unlikely that that would pass muster in the Senate. Those same Byrd Rule regulations or practices don't exist in the House. So it is much easier to get these things done in the House. It does put pressure on the Senate, on Senate Republicans to take another vote on this. That has been a challenging vote for a handful of senators, and so it is certainly part of that pressure campaign. And you also do have folks in the Senate who are growing a little bit weary of these budget resolutions. They are concerned about the spending, the other things that are accompanying the Save America Act, and would like to slow things down. All of that is to say that there is a lot of resistance to what the House is doing in the Senate. It's been a fascinating dynamic. We talk a lot about the divide between Republicans and Democrats. There is a huge divide right now between Republicans in the House and Republicans in the Senate over strategy, over what to prioritize, and how to get those issues across the finish line.
So the Save America Act, to be clear, it would require proof of citizenship in order to register to vote. It would also require states to establish a program to remove non-citizens from existing voter rolls. They would have to submit their data through this database, the DHS Save database, or through possibly another mechanism like Social Security. This would essentially end mail-in registration, which there's a lot of dust up over that. But I want to ask you a follow-up about the parliamentarian, because this is it feels like inside baseball a little bit. But if the Senate wants to do something, the parliamentarian will tell them, you can or you can't really do this. Senator Mike Lee is saying there's nothing sacred about the parliamentarian. She's not an elected person. It's the presiding officer in the Senate who can decide what's in this. Do you think there's any appetite for undermining the parliamentarian?
I don't. One, this parliamentarian has been there for a long time. She has a lot of experience. She is trusted by Senate leaders. She has ruled against both major parties. You'll recall she hacked up the major Biden-era legislation that was at one point Build Back Better, and it got pared down. One of the reasons it got pared down is because the parliamentarian said nope to a lot of policy issues that were in there that she said did not comport with, again, the restrictions of a budget resolution. The other reason that I think that there is trepidation to undermine her rulings is, senators are in office oftentimes a long time. They serve both in the majority and the minority, and everything in the Senate runs on precedent. At the point that you make a decision to do something once, it's going to happen forever, right? And so there are going to be those that say, listen, if we do this, then it is going to set up a scenario in which the other party, when they're in power, can kind of run roughshod over this. And we don't want that to happen. The Senate really is a body of precedents and traditions. And once you start kind of messing with those, it is almost impossible to I don't know what the analogy is, but to put the corn back in the can, or whatever analogy you want to use.
Oh, very nice. One of the aspects of all this, and a lot of states are actually reacting as well, because part of the Save America Act has this requirement where you submit your voter data. And there have been some rulings already saying that there's privacy issues. Some judges have said you can't do this. But last week, the DOJ sent letters to all 50 states saying their chief election officials could be criminally charged if they knowingly allow non-citizens to vote or be registered to vote. This is upsetting election chiefs around the country. I wanted to share with our listeners in Idaho, a letter back to the DOJ says essentially they have purged all non-citizens from their voter rolls. They referred 15 names to the U.S. Attorney's Office, to the DOJ for prosecution of people who registered to vote who shouldn't have. And they say in 2026, they ran all of the registered voter names they have through the DHS's Save Act system, which is what the feds are requesting states do. So they wrote in this letter back to DOJ, your threats of criminal penalties are not well taken. And please stop threatening your friends in Idaho, which is obviously a very Idaho nice way of saying, excuse me. It's also
not like a blue state. I think that was their point too, right? We don't think about Idaho in the same way that the president thinks about California.
Right. But to that, this idea that all of these states are being tasked with this, and some of them say that, look, they're happy to comply. They are working with the federal government, and they're all receiving this letter. This is a legal issue in and of itself, isn't it? I mean, we are seeing rulings.
And it raises the big issue it raises is a constitutional question, again, because the Constitution largely prescribes the overseeing of elections to Congress and the states. The executive branch has a very minimal role in how elections are operated. And so what you have heard from courts is that states run their own elections unless there is a federal law that kind of supersedes it or builds in requirements. And those are the only two ways that you can change how elections are carried out. And so there have been courts that have said this is an executive overreach, essentially, in trying to play a role in elections that they are not supposed to be playing.
All right, Jared, one more for you briefly. It's a busy time right before this August recess. We are hearing talk that in relation to this push for Save America, because the president has pushed off signing legislation, he's pushed off confirmation hearings, he's tried to delay business over the Save America Act. Are we looking at this in conjunction with a likely shutdown?
That's a good question. Listen, the government is going to run out of money and not be funded through September 30th. And so there are already questions about kind of how are you going to get that done in this political environment. It is possible you could see congressional leaders kind of get together and just kind of pass a short-term spending bill that gets beyond the election. But you're right. There are concerns now that the Save America Act is so important to the president that it will take priority over a lot of other things. We've seen that again with that bipartisan housing bill that you mentioned, which became law, but became law after 10 days because the president refused to sign it, he said, in protest of the Senate not passing the Save America Act.
We will be following all of this. You've been listening to the president's address to the nation. He addressed election integrity, namely a breach of our data obtained by the People's Republic of China. Vulnerabilities, he says, ongoing to our election system in the United States as he continues his push for passage of the Save America Voter ID Act. We'll continue covering the story on these Fox News radio stations and the Fox News Rundown podcast. For Jared Halpern, I'm Jessica Rosenthal, and this is Fox News Radio.
SeattleRed.com, the only place for conservatives in Seattle.
I do believe in a homeless industrial complex.
Local perspective without the liberal spin.
If this problem goes away, all that money stops coming into their nonprofits, their NGOs.
The place Seattle conservatives can trust.
The Democrats are telegraphing.
Bookmark SeattleRed.com now for exclusive content from right here in the Pacific Northwest.
It's not complicated.
SeattleRed.com.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel you attract people who tend to be compulsive or abusive?
Do you have money problems because of someone else's drinking?
Are you afraid or embarrassed to bring your friends home?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
More than half of all adults have a family history of alcoholism.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too. Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.